LoveLore Library. Chapter 751. Yeah, your uncle and I are here this time to visit my third aunt in Mount Jing. Wang Guifan said, why don't you come with us? Wang Guifan wanted to show off with Yang Ming. After all, her third aunt had been showing off in front of her for a long time. She was quite confident, so Wang Guifan didn't want to miss this opportunity to show off. I won't go. I am not very familiar with Sui Guangqi. Yang Ming shook his head, but his heart was a little depressed. He was not interested in the Sui family. Zhao Dequan pulled his wife's clothes. Although he was honest, his mind was much more sober than Wang Guifan. When he heard Yang Ming's words, he knew that his relationship with Sui Guangqi was not good, so he quickly said, then don't go. Anyway, we are not familiar with them. We are just going to take a look. Although Wang Guifan was reluctant to lose an opportunity to show off, she had no other way. She also saw that Yang Ming was not very interested in the Sui family. She had to say, yeah, they are not very close relatives, but there is no other way. Out of etiquette, we have to go and take a look. Zhao Dequan didn't say anything after listening, but he secretly snorted. Out of etiquette. No other way. I don't know who was the one who was anxious to claim kinship with others. Now that he saw his daughter's boyfriend, he immediately changed his tone. Dad, Mom, where are you staying at night? Zhao Ying was very annoyed with her mother's approach, but since Yang Ming had already helped her out, she couldn't help but appreciate it. However, she tried not to mention those irrelevant topics. We originally wanted to take a look at you and leave, but we have to help you look at the house and car tomorrow, so we can't leave in a hurry. Wang Guifan looked like she was thinking about Yang Ming and Zhao Ying. This made Yang Ming feel a little funny, but he was not very angry. Yang Ming could probably understand that Wang Guifan was afraid that he would deceive Zhao Ying's feelings, so she wanted to seek some benefits for her daughter as much as possible. However, she was a bit too anxious. However, after he bought these things for Zhao Ying, his relationship with Zhao Ying seemed to be a bit unclear, but this was also what Yang Ming was happy to see. How about staying in a hotel? Yang Ming said, it's so late. We can only stay in a hotel. Wang Guifan thought the hotel arranged by Yang Ming would not be bad. Just as she wanted to nod and agree, she heard Zhao Ying, there is no need, right? The house that I used to rent with Yan Yan is still empty. It's fine to live there. Where? Auntie, I will go back to my own home. Yang Ming was a little dumbfounded. It seemed that Wang Guifan still thought that he and Zhao Ying usually lived together. After sending Zhao Ying's family to the place where Zhao Ying originally lived, Yang Ming drove home. On the way, he called Chen Mengyan to inform her that he was safe. Yang Ming returned home. When he entered the living room, he saw Yang Dashan sitting on the sofa at home, chatting with his father. However, at this moment, Yang Dahai no longer had the previous honest image. He was talking and laughing with Yang Dashan. Looking closely, his uncle had also changed a little. In front of his father, he became a little cautious. He no longer had the arrogance of the past. The sudden development of Yang Ming's family had a great impact on Yang Dashan. Although he had long known that his nephew had some skills, now it seemed that it was just the tip of the iceberg. In fact, wasn't the strength that Yang Ming showed now also the tip of the iceberg? Nephew, you are back. Yang Dashan saw Yang Ming come in and quickly stood up and said with a smile. Although Yang Ming was a younger generation, in any case, Yang Ming helped him in the matter of Tianzhou Entertainment City. He also brought back Sha Zhuang for him. Yang Dashan was grateful to Yang Ming from the bottom of his heart. Uncle, please sit down. Why are you still so polite when you see me? Yang Ming smiled. After knowing the details of the grievances between his uncle and his father, Yang Ming was not as indifferent to Yang Dashin as before. He did not look down on the failure of his uncle's business last time. He just felt that he was a little reckless. Big Ming, since you are back, why don't you sit down and listen and give me some ideas? Yang Dahai no longer treated his son as a child like before. What's the matter? Yang Ming stopped with some suspicion and sat on the sofa. It's like this. Your uncle, he. Big brother, you should say it. Yang Dahai nodded to Yang Dashin. Okay, I will say it. It's like this, nephew. Yang Dashin said, Sha Zhuang's business, although it is profitable, people always want to make a bigger career, don't they? Uncle, don't tell me you're thinking of doing some imaginary business again. Yang Ming frowned after listening. Uncle, listen to my advice. It's better not to get involved in an unfamiliar industry. Now the financial crisis is serious. Although the impact on our country is not big, we will always be affected. It's better to do Sha Zhuang's business steadily. Nephew, listen to uncle. Yang Dashin smiled bitterly. I know that the last time I did Entertainment City, I was really confused, but this time, I thought about it carefully. Okay, then uncle, tell me about it. If it really works, money is not a problem. Yang Ming nodded and decided to give his uncle a chance. People can't deny everything when they make a mistake, right? Sha Zhuang's business has been done for so many years. Everything is on the right track. Just ask your aunt to take care of it. It has nothing to do with me. Yang Dashin said, these days, I am thinking about whether Dahai's company can produce some heavy construction machinery. For example, excavators, bulldozers, and the like. These heavy products have relatively low technical content, but the sales are good. In our province, there is really no similar company. Oh. Yang Ming was stunned. He didn't expect his uncle to talk about this. He thought about it and said, this can be considered. After all, we don't lack technology now. These heavy equipment, I believe that old Buffon can get the relevant technical information. Production and assembly is not a problem at all. If this kind of thing is really popular, then it is not impossible to consider. However, the purpose of Yang Dashin coming here is just to give his father an idea. Yang Ming was a little puzzled. Uncle, do you mean that you want to participate? Participate. Yang Dashin shook his head after listening. The total assets of your father's company are so large. Even if I throw all my assets into it, it won't even make a splash. I was thinking that if the production and sales department of heavy equipment is really established, I would like to see if I can take a position as a manager in the family's Sha Zhuang. It sounds like a nouveau riche. It doesn't sound as good as an entrepreneur. That is not a problem. Yang Ming glanced at his father and said, Uncle is more familiar with these things. If it is really done, he can be responsible for sales and market development. Yang Ming was not guarding against his uncle. It was just that it was best not to have relatives involved in core things to avoid differences in opinion on some major decisions. It would not look good when the time came. There would not be any problems with sales. At most, he would contact the channel merchants. Although he might receive some small benefits from the channel merchants, these were insignificant things. Yang Dahai nodded. He thought that Yang Ming would not agree with his uncle coming to the company, but now it seemed that Yang Ming did not object. However, Yang Ming was very supportive of Yang Dashin's opinion. Otherwise, if Yang Dashin was really in charge of some core departments, it would be very difficult for the employees when the time came for him to order them around. Dad, you guys talk. I am going back to my room. Yang Ming didn't want to interfere too much with his father's company. Since Yang Dahai had already done it, Yang Ming didn't want to be a behind-the-scenes boss. Okay, then I will talk to your uncle for a while. I am also very interested in his idea. Yang Dahai nodded and said. At this time, Mother Yang also came over and said, Dahai, it's quite late. I will call the restaurant downstairs to send some supper. You and Big Brother can talk while eating. Okay, I just happen to be hungry. Yang Dahai smiled and said, You go ahead. Yang Ming returned to the room and turned on the computer. He wanted to go online to see if there was any public opinion against the jewelry company today. He opened QQ and chose the invisible state. However, there was still a message. Yang Ming clicked on it, but it was from a wild female teacher whom he hadn't seen for a long time. Are you there? Are you there? Haven't you come yet? Wild female teacher sent 4 or 5 messages to ask if Yang Ming was there. Originally, Yang Ming wanted to look at the web page first, but when he saw so many messages, he didn't want to see anything urgent. So, he replied, I just went online. What's the matter? Ah. You are here. Wild female teacher's message came quickly. N. Yang Ming sent an emoji. Are you free? Asked wild female teacher. Some, but it shouldn't be possible to compensate for your points. Said Yang Ming. It's not about points. I haven't played Landlord for a long time. I'm in a bad mood today. I want to find someone to talk to, said wild female teacher. Hee, every time you talk to me, you seem to be a little depressed. Why? Is it a relationship problem? Yang Ming recently felt that his relationship was very smooth. Little sister Lin was finally put to bed. Little classmate Xiao Qin also began to compromise. Today's sister Zhao seemed to have a chance. So, Yang Ming's mood was quite good. I met him today. Said wild female teacher. And then? Since you saw the person you like, why are you still in a bad mood? Asked Yang Ming. I don't know. I just feel that today's meeting was very bad, said wild female teacher. What did you say or do that made him hate you? Yang Ming asked patiently. After all, wild female teacher was one of his few netizens with a good relationship. Chapter 752. I didn't say anything, but my family's approach should make him very unhappy. Said wild female teacher. Family? You even took him to meet your family. Yang Ming was a little surprised. He didn't expect that after a few months of not seeing each other, the other party had made progress. Not really. It's a bit complicated. After wild female teacher sent this message, she immediately sent another one. You say, if the girl wants something, the boy will buy it for her. Does that count as the boy being interested in her? It should count. If the two are not relatives, then it should be like what you said. Yang Ming didn't know how to answer, so he could only say something nice. But the key problem is that these things were asked by my mother. He also agreed to buy them for me. But I think he is just taking care of my mother's face. Said wild female teacher. Yang Ming looked at the message sent by wild female teacher. He was slightly stunned. Why do I feel that this is so familiar? It seems like it happened around me. Wild female teacher. Yang Ming clicked on the details of her QQ, age 23. Then, he opened the chat records of the two people before. Yang Ming couldn't help but be shocked. Is it really her? At first, it was a teacher, then it was a student. She went to my school. Yang Ming's mind was suddenly in chaos. How can there be such a coincidence? That also depends on what it is. If it's a small thing, I may agree to it out of respect. But if it's a very expensive thing, at least I won't give it away casually. What did your mother ask for from him? Yang Ming resisted the excitement in his heart. He trembled as he typed a line of words and sent it over. The car and house she asked for. He also agreed. I don't know what to do now. I don't know if he really wants to give it to me or it's just against his will, said wild female teacher. Yang Ming widened his eyes and opened his mouth. He couldn't speak while facing the computer screen. Accident? Coincidence? Or is it the truth? Some things can't be explained clearly through chatting. Why don't we meet and I'll tell you in detail? Yang Ming wished that his special ability could go through the network cable and see the other person's appearance. Meet? Wild female teacher was obviously stunned, and then immediately said, forget it, I'm not used to meeting online friends. Yang Ming was a little disappointed. There were some things that couldn't be asked directly. A meeting was the best solution. Yang Ming was afraid that if he asked something on the internet, the other side would not admit it. At that time, he would have no choice but to throw his QQ account aside forever and never go online again. Who could find him? That doesn't matter. Let's just say it like that. Yang Ming didn't insist. After all, if the other party was really Zhao Ying, with Zhao Ying's character, she definitely wouldn't easily meet an online friend. Then, he's already accompanied you to meet your parents. What else are you worried about? If he didn't like you, why would he go to see your parents? Yang Ming further induced. Actually, the relationship between the two of us really hasn't reached that step yet. My parents want to introduce a boyfriend to me. I don't like it, so I pulled him here to make up the numbers, said wild female teacher. Make up the numbers. Is it just to make up the numbers? Asked Yang Ming. Yeah, that's why I'm worried. Wild female teacher said. Then you don't have to worry about it. You think about it. Who is more stupid? Can you buy a house and a car just to make up the numbers? If he isn't interested in you, then he simply has money to burn. Yang Ming thought, I don't have the habit of burning money. Really? Thank you. I feel much better. My parents told me to go to bed. Let's talk another day. Wild female teacher sent a goodnight emoji over. Yang Ming wanted to say a few more words, but the other party had already gone offline. Ying, go to bed. Why are you still playing online by yourself when mom and dad finally come? Zhao Ying greeted Zhao Dequan, who was sitting at the computer table. Oh, I know. Zhao Ying closed QQ and replied. Wait, don't turn off the computer. You go online and check what kind of car is more suitable for you to drive, and mine. Wang Guifan couldn't forget about the car. Mom. Why do you really want to buy it? Zhao Ying frowned. Yang Ming and I haven't reached that step yet. Now you want a house and a car. How can I face him in the future? What's wrong with that? A woman. You have to use your own capital. Think about it. If one day little Yang doesn't want you, don't you still have some assets? Wang Guifan said disapprovingly. She moved a stool and sat next to Zhao Ying. Zhao Ying didn't move. She didn't want to be her mother's accomplice. However, Wang Guifan grabbed the mouse in Zhao Ying's hand and opened the IE browser. She went to the home page of Good 123 and entered a professional car website. It had to be said that the website of Good 123 was quite successful. There was only one page, but from the office workers to the housewives, they all remembered this one-page internet access. Zhao Ying was helpless. She didn't expect her mother to actually surf the internet. It seemed that the internet was very popular now. This new BMW 325 is good, but Ying, you can't buy such a cheap one. You should buy a BMW 5 Series, right? Wang Guifan had a soft spot for BMWs. Mom, can you not be like this? Zhao Ying was about to cry. How can we ask for things from others? What is this? How is this asking for it? Didn't little Yang agree? Since he has already said it, it is like spilled water. How can he take it back? If we don't want it, we are not giving face. Then you can see for yourself. Zhao Ying stood up angrily and went to sleep on her own. Wang Guifan ignored Zhao Ying. She sat directly in Zhao Ying's position and read the car introduction with relish. Zhao Dequan also sighed helplessly. He looked at Wang Guifan. His lips moved, but he didn't say anything in the end. Early the next morning, without informing Zhao Ying, Wang Guifan rushed to the car market and came to the BMW store. After she went there, she directly looked at the two new cars of the BMW 3 Series and 5 Series. Although Wang Guifan's dress wasn't very good, it was all street goods. But in this day and age, there were rich people who wore beggars' clothes, celebrities, and people who drove tractors. Who could distinguish them? Therefore, the salesperson didn't dare to neglect. He followed Wang Guifan all the way to choose the car. When Wang Guifan was satisfied, he asked, "Ms. Wang, have you decided to buy the 3 Series or the 5 Series? I want both." Wang Guifan finally enjoyed the treatment of a superior person today. She had lived for most of her life, and she was finally generous for once. "You want both?" The salesperson was stunned. "You want to buy two?" "Yeah, I have one, and my daughter has one." "Hee, my son-in-law will pay for it." Wang Guifan said this with a smile. The salesperson finally understood what was going on. She had hooked up with a rich husband. He didn't dare to delay and quickly complimented, "Then you are really blessed. That is, who let me give birth to a good daughter." Wang Guifan felt that she liked to hear this. "Then, how do you pay?" asked the salesperson. "Wait. Let me call and ask." Wang Guifan said, "Right, I left in a hurry and didn't bring my cell phone." "Do you have a phone in your store?" Yes. The salesperson didn't doubt it. If she could afford a car, how could she not afford a cell phone? How could he know that Wang Guifan didn't have a cell phone at all? When she was at home, she only had a little smart that couldn't roam and was tied to a landline phone. Wang Guifan deliberately asked for Yang Ming's phone number yesterday for today's action. "Hello, Xiao Yang. I am Ying Ying's mother." Wang Guifan dialed the phone and said with a smile. "Oh. Auntie Wang, what's the matter?" asked Yang Ming. "I am at the BMW Car 4S store. I chose 2 cars." Wang Guifan hesitated and said, "Now I have to pay the bill." "Oh, so that's the case. You give the phone to the salesperson. I will talk to him." Yang Ming said. Okay. Wang Guifan quickly gave the phone to the salesperson on the side. "Hello." The salesperson politely picked up the phone. "How much is it? Give me the account number of your store. I will ask someone to transfer it to you." Yang Ming said indifferently, "The procedures are all done together. Get a better license plate. If you can't get it, I will give you a phone call. You can find Bao Sanli or Ho Jinhan from Ming Yang Entertainment and let them do it." "Ah, okay. The salesperson was stunned. He thought, who is this person? With such a big tone, he can even order Bao Sanli and Ho Jinhan. Now, it was impossible for people in the business world not to know the names of Ho Jinhan and Bao Sanli. This store was no exception. Just as he was wondering, after a while, someone who claimed to be Bao Sanli from Ming Yang Entertainment called and asked about the payment. The salesperson felt that his level wasn't enough, so he quickly called the boss to answer the phone. Seeing that the shop owner was talking to her son-in-law's subordinate, Wang Guifan's heart was so cool. She had never thought that one day, she would have such an awe-inspiring moment. After the shop owner hung up the phone, he first scolded the salesperson for his bad reception. "Ms. Wang is a VIP. Why did you receive her yourself? Where are the others? Hurry up and invite Ms. Wang to the VIP room. I will do the following procedures personally." After that, he turned to Wang Guifan and said, "Ms. Wang, look. You came to buy a car, but you didn't call in advance so that I could receive you personally. If you are not free, you can tell me the model of the car. I will ask someone to drive it for you to choose." Although he didn't know the real origin of Wang Guifan, he heard from the salesperson that the person who called before was very arrogant. He treated Bao Sanli and Ho Xinhan like his subordinates. And this Wang Guifan was that person's mother-in-law. How could this be? How could the manager not care? Chapter 753. Of course, these were all done by Wang Guifan behind Xiao Ying's back. If Xiao Ying knew about it, she would also stop her. However, Wang Guifan thought, when the time comes, what is done cannot be undone. The procedures are all done. You can't just return it, right? After completing the procedures, Wang Guifan didn't rush to drive Xiao Ying's car away. Instead, she only drove the blue BMW 328i that she chose and left Car City. Anyway, she didn't have to worry about the license plate. She found the sales office of Huasong Wenyuan, a luxury residential area that she saw online yesterday. This was a luxury residential area closest to Songjiang Industry University. It had just opened, and there were still many good locations that were not sold out. Driving a brand new BMW, Wang Guifan felt different. It was much more comfortable than driving the Volga in the past. In the early years, Wang Guifan also drove a car for the leader, but the car drivers at that time weren't as badass as they were now. The relationship between them and the leader was only a superior and subordinate. Unlike now, which driver wasn't the confidant of the leader. Even if the large group was disbanded, the leader couldn't be laid off, right? It wasn't difficult to bring a person to another unit. However, Wang Guifan sighed that she didn't have the opportunity. She was a car driver for a few years in vain. She thought that she would never have the opportunity to touch a car again in her life, but she didn't expect that she would drive a BMW directly when she drove again. She didn't know if it was a psychological effect, or the salesperson at the sales office saw Wang Guifan's car and acted snobbish. He flattered Wang Guifan for a while. Wang Guifan finally realized the charm of money at this moment. Money makes the world go round. This saying is really true. If it were a few days ago, who would be around a housewife like me? The more she realized this feeling of floating, the more Wang Guifan couldn't give it up. She was thinking in her heart. When I go back, I must teach my daughter how to lock a man's heart. If one day little Yang is tired of my daughter, then it will be terrible. Wang Guifan didn't want to live that kind of life anymore. "Madam, what kind of house do you want to see?" The salesperson responded with a smile. "Well, what kind of houses do you have?" Wang Guifan asked casually, looking like a rich lady on TV. Although Wang Guifan didn't dress well and didn't have a brand on her, her car was good. Moreover, who could be sure that she didn't find a tailor shop to order her clothes? Although his taste was not that good, everyone had their own preferences. The salesman had even seen people wearing hurdle vests and big pants driving Mercedes-Benz to buy buildings. Therefore, she was not surprised and said, "There are small apartments, medium apartments, large apartments, and luxury duplexes. Of course, there are also independent villas." "What's the price?" Wang Guifan asked. A normal apartment costs around 10,000 yuan per square meter, a duplex costs around 20,000 yuan per square meter, and a villa costs up to 50,000 yuan per square meter, the salesperson explained. Wang Guifan clicked her tongue. She didn't even dare to look at such a high-priced building. Wang Guifan calculated for a moment. The price of the villa was too high. She estimated that one villa would cost more than 10 million. Oh my God, was it possible to buy such an expensive house? However, a duplex could be considered, so he asked, how much does a duplex cost? Looking at the display model on the side, the structure of the duplex was really good. Wang Guifan just took a look and liked it very much. A duplex is about 7.5 million yuan. The salesperson said, the orientation and the type of house are the same, but the price is slightly different according to the distance to the entrance of the community. More than 7 million yuan. Wang Guifan was a little dazzled. How many lifetimes did she and her husband have to struggle to save so much money? Originally, she thought that the car she bought was luxurious enough, but now she found that the car was really nothing compared to the house. Wang Guifan didn't dare to make a decision on her own. She said to the salesman, I will make a phone call and discuss with my family. That's what you should do, but there is no signal in this hall. You can use our phone here. The salesman was not surprised. After all, buying a house was a big deal. It was normal to discuss with family. The salesman's suggestion was exactly what Wang Guifan wanted. She didn't have a cell phone. When she wanted to borrow a phone, the salesman took the initiative to ask. Wang Guifan dialed Yang Ming's phone again. Little Yang, it's me, Ying's mother. Wang Guifan said, I am at the sales office. I saw a duplex, but the price is a bit expensive. It costs more than 70,000 yuan. Oh. Where did you see the house? Yang Ming didn't care about the price. In Huasong Wen Yuan. Wang Guifan said, I think this is the closest place to the school. Huasong Wen Yuan. No way, right? Yang Ming sweated, but he couldn't think of a reason to refuse. Fortunately, Wang Guifan wanted to buy a duplex, not a villa. If he bought a house here, once Xiao Ying moved in, it was possible to meet Chen Mengyan again. At that time, God knew if Chen Mengyan would have any ideas. However, judging from the recent events, Chen Mengyan seemed to be more open-minded. She was not as jealous as before. Forget it. Anyway, even if I end up with Xiao Ying, the relationship between these women will be exposed sooner or later. He simply didn't think so much. He braced himself and said, okay, but you wait. I will look for someone to see if I can get a discount. Okay. Wang Guifan saw that Yang Ming didn't question the price of the duplex. She was excited, but she couldn't help but regret it. I should have asked for a villa. Yang Ming picked up the phone, opened the phone book, and found Li Dagong's number. He was about to dial it, but he hesitated. After a long while, Yang Ming shook his head and didn't call Li Dagong directly. Yang Ming could see from Wang Guifan's style that she wasn't a tight-lipped person. Li Dagong didn't know about Zhao Ying's matter. If they were together, it wouldn't be good if something was leaked. Therefore, Yang Ming directly dialed Manager Lu's phone number. Manager Lu, I am Yang Ming. Do you remember me? Yang Ming wasn't sure if Manager Lu could remember him. After all, they just exchanged phone numbers politely. Remember. How can I not remember? Manager Lu's hearty laughter came from the phone. The owner of the Sun Moon Pavilion. Mr. Yang, do you have any orders? Previously, Manager Lu was very puzzled about the identity of Yang Ming. However, Manager Lu inquired about the identity of Guo Jianchao that day. The current Ming Yang Century was the chairman of the former Wang Century Xiongfeng Group. For this company, Manager Lu still understood it. It had a strong black background. Who was the person who could reprimand Guo Jianchao face to face? During a company dinner by chance, Li Dagong drank too much. When the two were chatting, Manager Lu asked about Yang Ming. Li Dagong wasn't very clear. He just said that he used to follow Yang Ming in the underworld. This bit of information was more than enough. Combined with the clues in Li Dagong's words and the scene of him reprimanding Guo Jianchao that day, Manager Lu had some idea of Yang Ming's identity. This person might be a big shot in the underworld of Songjiang. However, he didn't dare to inquire about it. Manager Lu was really lucky that Yang Ming didn't give him a real-life PK in his office at that time. This is the case. I have a relative who went to your place to look at a house. She is next to the phone. Help me take care of her. Her surname is Wang, and her name is Wang Guifan. She is in her 40s. Yang Ming said. No problem. Manager Lu quickly agreed. It didn't take long for a man in his 30s to greet them. After the salesman next to Wang Guifan saw him, he quickly said, President Lu. Manager Lu looked next to the phone. There was only an unfamiliar middle-aged woman, Wang Guifan. So, he thought that this was probably the relative that Yang Ming talked about on the phone. Hello, are you Ms. Wang Guifan? Manager Lu asked tentatively. It's me. You are. Although Wang Guifan learned from the salesman that the person in front of her was a president, she didn't know him. I'm the manager of the sales office. My surname is Lu. Mr. Yang called me, so I quickly rushed over. Manager Lu smiled and said to Wang Guifan. Wang Guifan was shocked. Completely shocked. She really couldn't imagine that Yang Ming's influence in Songjiang was so great. A phone call could make the manager of the sales office so respectful. Including when she bought the car before, the owner of the car dealership was the same. Among the people that Wang Guifan had contacted before, there were some who had some money in their family, such as Boss Lu, but it was just a little money. It was impossible to have the influence that Yang Ming had in Songjiang. When Boss Lu went to buy a car, people would at most receive him for the face of money, but the manager would definitely not accompany him personally. But now, Wang Guifan found that whether it was President Lu or the car dealership owner, they were all really respectful to her, not just perfunctory. Manager Lu, hello. Wang Guifan dreamed of the day when she would become a lady, so she quickly adapted to her position in a hurry. She nodded to Manager Lu casually. This is the case. The authority of our sales office can only give a 10% discount. However, Mr. Yang has a good relationship with the developer, Xinheng Real Estate. If you are not in a hurry, you should be able to get a lower price. Manager Lu said. Ah. Wang Guifan didn't expect that Yang Ming actually knew the developer. However, she could only stay in Songjiang for one day. Who didn't like to save money? But she was afraid that a long night would bring more trouble, so she said with some doubts, but I bought the house in a hurry. It is best to get the key as soon as possible. That's easy. Zhao, you go and get the key now and give it to Ms. Wang. Manager Lu casually instructed someone. Give me the key. But I haven't paid yet. Wang Guifan was stunned. She didn't expect to get the key. Money is not urgent. Mr. Yang has other businesses here. How can you owe us money? Manager Lu smiled. Other businesses. Chapter 754. Other industries. What do you mean? Wang Guifan asked, baffled. Mr. Yang also bought a villa here. Don't you know? Manager Lu also asked, baffled. Villa? Wang Guifan frowned suspiciously. How did Yang Ming buy a villa here? Who did he buy it for? Why didn't my daughter mention it before? Yeah, Mr. Yang bought it with his girlfriend. He bought the most luxurious villa here. Manager Lu didn't know the secret, so he didn't hide it and said with a smile. Yang Ming didn't expect Manager Lu to mention this before. If he knew, he wouldn't make this unnecessary call just to save money. Girlfriend. Wang Guifen's heart skipped a beat. Her keen woman's intuition made her feel that this girlfriend was definitely not her daughter. Then, who was it? Seeing that Yang Ming was so generous and actually bought the most luxurious villa here, his feelings for this girl were definitely not shallow. Then, what about my daughter? Fortunately, Wang Guifen was also a woman in her 40s. Although she was a bit snobbish, she usually lived at the bottom of society and had trained a fake face. She said without batting an eyelid, "Oh, I know. That little girl is quite pretty." How could Manager Lu know that Wang Guifen was testing him? He thought that Wang Guifen really knew Chen Mengyan, so he followed her intention and complimented, "Yeah, Miss Chen and Mr. Yang are really a match made in heaven." Miss Chen. Wang Guifen's heart twitched twice. It really isn't Miss Xiao. What should I do? Now it seemed that Yang Ming had a woman outside. This was already an established fact. This couldn't help but make Wang Guifen's head hurt. If it were someone else, knowing that her daughter's boyfriend had another woman outside, she would definitely ask her daughter to break up with him directly. However, Wang Guifen didn't want to do this. Today's glory had made her thoroughly understand the beauty of having money and power. Everyone's respectful words and attitude made Wang Guifen intoxicated and unable to extricate herself. This kind of life made her unable to give it up. This feeling of squandering money and driving a luxury car was really cool. She didn't want to go back to the past, the life of arguing with the hawkers in the vegetable market for a few cents. Wang Guifen smiled forcefully. She didn't have the mood to continue to stay. She said to Manager Lu, "That's fine. I still have something to do, so I'll leave first. I'll have to trouble you for the rest." "Don't worry, Ms. Wang." After it was done, Manager Lu left. Wang Guifen. She. When Wang Guifen decided that she must have a thorough talk with her daughter. She couldn't be so passive anymore. Otherwise, it was very likely that everything would turn into a dream. Zhang Dejuan's work style and efficiency made Yang Ming appreciate it very much. He did the things that were given to him not long ago. Even the communication with the foreign side was done in an orderly manner. Yang Ming looked at the video demo on the computer and admired Zhang Dejuan's means. The advertising technique was natural and unrestrained. In the entire promotional video, there was not a single mention of the previous, high-priced door incident. However, the entire video made people feel that the previous article on the website was purely a farce, an ignorant piece of news written by an ignorant person. As for the later operation, as well as the broadcast and dissemination on TV and the internet, it was all up to Zhang Dejuan. At least, Zhang Dejuan was still very popular in this small area of the province. Tomorrow was Shuya's concert. Ho Xinhan was very busy, and the planning work had entered the final stage. The venue of the district stadium had been negotiated. In fact, there was no need to talk about it. Songjiang, as a non-provincial city, could host the concert of an international superstar. It had made this small city famous all over the country. The leaders in charge of the city were also very concerned about this. After all, the success of the concert also represented the economic development level of the city. The sound equipment was brought directly from Hong Kong with Shuya's staff. The installation and debugging were also done by a special person. But even so, the overall work made Ming Yang Entertainment prepare day and night for several days to be foolproof. Yesterday, the suspenseful chat record made Yang Ming sleepless all night. He really couldn't figure it out. If the other party was not Zhao Ying, how could there be such a coincidence in the world? It was just a pity that the other party refused to meet with him. Otherwise, he could confirm it himself. For Wang Guifen's requests, Yang Ming naturally agreed. It was all for Zhao Ying's face. No matter how much she tossed around, it wouldn't cost much money. Big Ming, tomorrow is Shuya's concert. Aren't you going to the company to take a look? Today was Saturday. Yang Dehai rarely slept in at home. I'm not going. I have nothing to do. Yang Ming was a little annoyed. There were too many things in these 2 days, and it was too sudden. First, Chen Mengyan revealed his relationship with Lin Jiyun. Then, Zhao Ying came out, making Yang Ming somewhat at a loss for a while. Yang Ming didn't deny that he was greedy. He was still thinking about what he had in his bowl, but who wasn't like this? Big Ming, you seem to have something on your mind. Yang Dehai looked at Yang Ming's frowning bad luck and asked. It's okay, Dad. Yang Ming smiled. You go ahead with your work. Well, you have grown up. I won't say more. Yang Dehai nodded and said, however, you don't have to worry too much about external things. Although our current life isn't as good as those of the world's richest people, it's still not bad. Living happily is better than anything else. Yang Ming didn't expect his father to have this awareness. He couldn't help but smile and said, Dad, I'm really fine. I'm just a little tired recently. Yang Dehai turned and went to the kitchen. His mother had already prepared the meal. After a few bites, he had to rush to the company again. Although it was Saturday, he still had to take a look. As a leader, there was basically no weekend. Yang Ming called Chen Mengyan and asked where she was. He didn't expect her to be shopping. This made Yang Ming slightly stunned. Isn't she too heartless? Uncle Chen is still lying in the hospital. It's only been less than 2.5 days, and she went out shopping. Chen Mengyan seemed to have heard Yang Ming's surprise. After a little consideration, she knew why Yang Ming was like this. So she said, I was chased out by my dad. Originally, my mom and I went to the hospital to accompany him. We didn't expect him to be playing chess with his colleagues. When he saw us coming, he kept chasing us out. He said that he was fine and didn't want to make it seem like he was seriously injured. He didn't ask us to accompany him. My mother went to my grandmother's house. I had nothing to do, so I came out to walk around. Yang Ming was relieved. He knew Chen Fei's character very well. He was the kind of person who was more forthright and didn't care about trifles. He really only hurt his leg. There were no other problems. Naturally, he wouldn't ask the whole family to accompany him in the hospital. He would feel uncomfortable. However, Yang Ming thought that Chen Mengyan was shopping with her mother. After listening to it, it wasn't so, so he asked curiously, You came out to shop alone? Of course not. I wanted to look for you, but didn't you go to see Sister Ying's family? I was afraid that you weren't done with your work, so I didn't call you. It just so happened that your sister Lin called me in the morning, so I asked her out. Chen Mengyan smiled. Sister Lin. Lin Jiyun. Yang Ming was shocked. How did these two people get together? Or did Lin Jiyun call Chen Mengyan first? Seeing that Yang Ming didn't say anything, Chen Mengyan also knew that Yang Ming was surprised. However, after experiencing so many things these days, Chen Mengyan also took Lin Jiyun's matter lightly. Her father's car accident shocked her. At that time, the feeling of nervousness and anxiety could only be understood by those who were in it. After seeing that her father was fine, Chen Mengyan really realized that it was best to have the person she loved safe and sound by her side. Since Yang Ming loved her and spoiled her, even if Lin Jiyun existed, this love wouldn't be less. Then, why should she care so much? Lin Jiyun's existence wasn't something she could change. Instead of fighting with each other, it was better to be friendly. Not only could it show that she was magnanimous, but it could also make Yang Ming feel guilty toward her. Chen Mengyan already knew that Yang Ming's character was amenable to coaxing but not coercion. If she really made a fuss, not only would it have no effect, but it would also make Yang Ming impatient. When the two of them had a cold war, she would still be the one who suffered. Unless she completely wanted to break up with Yang Ming, but now it seemed that this wasn't a realistic thing. You two, why are you going shopping? Yang Ming's question was somewhat incoherent. Why? You don't want us to be together? Asked Chen Mengyan. That's not it. You two continue. Yang Ming was afraid that he would say too much and make a mistake, so he quickly hung up the phone. In fact, the two of them didn't go shopping together in advance. This was what happened in the morning. Lin Jiyun learned from Yang Ming that Chen Mingyan's father had an accident. After thinking about it, she decided to call Chen Mengyan to ask. After all, her identity had been recognized by Chen Mengyan. She couldn't be like before. She had to try to integrate into this three-person group. Chen Mengyan was surprised that Lin Jiyun called to greet her, but she was also very happy. It proved that Lin Jiyun wasn't the kind of person who was arrogant and self-righteous. Chapter 755. It just so happened that Chen Mengyan had nothing to do, so she proposed to go out for a stroll. The newly bought villa had been properly decorated. Chen Mengyan planned to buy some daily necessities. Seeing that Chen Mengyan asked her out, Lin Jiyun was instinctively shocked. She was still a little afraid of Chen Mengyan in her heart. After all, the love that originally belonged to Chen Mengyan was divided into half by her. Perhaps it was less than half, but this was not important. For Chen Mengyan, even if it was divided into half, it was not a fair thing. However, she couldn't refuse. After hesitating for a while, Chen Mengyan said directly, "Okay, let's meet at the commercial street after 30 minutes. Lin Jiyun still wanted to say something, but Chen Mengyan had already hung up the phone. Lin Jiyun held the phone and was stupefied. She was somewhat at a loss. For Chen Mengyan's initiative to ask her out, Lin Jiyun was very hesitant. Although Chen Mengyan looked very friendly, after all, her identity was there. How could it not be awkward? Until Shen Yueping came over and saw her daughter in a daze, she shouted, "Yunair, what are you doing?" Lin Jiyun woke up with an "ah" and looked at the phone in her hand. 10 minutes had passed. She quickly got up from the bed and put on her clothes in a hurry. She said, "Mom, I'm going shopping, with Yang Ming." Shen Yueping asked casually. "No, with a classmate, a girl," said Lin Jiyun. "Oh, then come back early," Shen Yueping said. Since her daughter became the company's manager, Shen Yueping rarely cared about her daughter's social situation. Lin Jiyun nodded and thought, "If I don't make it, it won't be good if I'm late." Compared to Yang Ming asking her out, she was much more nervous. She hurried out of the house. Lin Jiyun, who had always been thrifty, was also extravagant this time. She stopped a taxi and hurried to the commercial street. Fortunately, the two got off at the same time, so Lin Jiyun was not late. Elder sister Yen. Lin Jiyun lowered her head and called out carefully. "What are you doing? You look like you are being bullied." When Chen Mengyan saw Lin Jiyun being bullied, she couldn't help but feel pity for her. All his resentment towards her was thrown away. Such a girl would never be envied or disliked by others. Lin Jiyun's character really made Chen Mengyan unable to be angry. Chen Mengyan sighed. If I really instigated Lin Jiyun to break up with Yang Ming, with Lin Jiyun's character, she would definitely agree. But what was she going to do after they broke up? It could be seen that Lin Jiyun's feelings for Yang Ming were very special. From the initial hatred and gratitude to later love. It could be said that Yang Ming was the only person she could rely on in her heart right now. Chen Mengyan couldn't bear to do this no matter what. Since she couldn't bear to do it, then it wasn't a bad thing to get along well with him. Just like now, when she didn't have anyone to accompany her, she could find her. Both of them were Yang Ming's girlfriends. Although there was still some awkwardness between them, they were always on the same side. It was convenient to talk, and it was easy to find common topics. I didn't. Lin Jiyun always felt a little guilty in front of Chen Mengyan. You still don't want to say it. I said that if you like it in the future, you can call me Sister Yen. I will also treat you as a sister. I won't have any prejudice against you. Really? Chen Mengyan said sincerely. Thank you, Sister Yen. Lin Jiyun was a little moved. She looked up, and her eyes were full of warmth. What are you thanking for? Chen Mengyan smiled and said, we will be a family in the future. You don't have to be so polite. Chen Mengyan was very surprised that she would say this sentence so casually. A family. This is such a difficult decision to make. However, looking at Lin Jiyun's thin body in front of her, Chen Mengyan said this sentence so easily. Just like when she saw Zhou Jie, there was no hesitation. When Lin Jiyun heard Chen Mengyan mention a family, her jade face couldn't help but blush, but it was full of joy. The current result was already a gift from God. Lin Jiyun didn't ask for too much. Her wish from the beginning to the end was that Yang Ming could always pretend to be her boyfriend forever. The current situation was better than her previous wish. She never had the idea of monopolizing Yang Ming, so it was particularly important to get Chen Mengyan's approval. That's good. Lin Jiyun nodded and said, I also treat you as my sister. That's right. Chen Mengyan gently took Lin Jiyun's hand and said, don't stand here stupidly. Buy some daily necessities with me. No one would feel that there was anything wrong with two girls holding hands while shopping. However, if it were two men, it would be a little shocking. Although Lin Jiyun was puzzled why Chen Mengyan would ask her to buy so many bedding products, sofa products, and some teacups, kettles, and the like, she didn't ask much. These things, in the Lin family, were all bought by Xin Yueping, but the situation was different. Lin Jiyun thought that Chen Mengyan was buying these things for her. As they were shopping, Chen Mengyan received a call from Yang Ming. Chen Mengyan glanced at the phone and then whispered to Lin Jiyun, who was next to her, it's my husband's call. Do you want to hear it? Chen Mengyan's words were very ambiguous. If she was with others, she might add the word me and turn it into my husband's phone call. However, Chen Mengyan omitted the word me. Lin Jiyun licked her lips and was very embarrassed. Sister Yen, he is calling you, hee, are you jealous? Chen Mengyan teased her. Ah. No. Lin Jiyun was shocked. Her shyness was her instinct. She was scared by Chen Mengyan. She immediately turned pale and said nervously, Sister Yen. I really didn't mean that. Chen Mengyan looked at Lin Jiyun's appearance. She didn't know whether to laugh or cry. She said, Sister Lin, I'm just joking with you. Don't be like this. Am I really so scary? Like a big tiger. Lin Jiyun looked at the smiling Chen Mengyan and knew that she was really joking with her. After listening to Chen Mengyan's words, she couldn't help but laugh. I know, if I really had a problem with you or something, I wouldn't accept you and recognize you as my sister. I wouldn't ask you out to shop. Chen Mengyan shook her head. If Yang Ming saw it, he would really think that I bullied you. Lin Jiyun nodded and knew that Chen Mengyan was telling the truth. She was really too sensitive. She smiled embarrassedly. This was why Chen Mengyan picked up the phone and told Yang Ming that she was shopping with Sister Lin. After hanging up the phone, Chen Mengyan said to Lin Jiyun, "Husband is very strange. Let's go shopping together." Ha! Lin Jiyun smiled and leaned toward Chen Mengyan intimately. She said, "Sister Yan, I'm so happy now." Me too. Somehow, Chen Mengyan felt that Lin Jiyun, this girl, was really amiable. She had a good temper. It was really good to have her accompany her. At the very least, the two could become really good friends. As long as both of them had Yang Ming in their hearts, they would never scheme against each other because of some other interests. It wasn't until Lin Jiyun and Chen Mengyan brought these bedsheets and quilts into the villa in Huasong Wenyuan that Lin Jiyun said in surprise, "Sister Yan, where is this? How is it? Isn't it beautiful?" Chen Mengyan was quite satisfied with the love nest that she carefully designed with Yang Ming. "And, it's really beautiful, but it seems that it has just been renovated." Although the renovation was done with environmentally friendly materials and deodorizing treatment, there was no special smell. However, the emptiness in the room still showed that this was a new house. "And I just bought it with Yang Ming a while ago." Chen Mengyan nodded. "Ah." Lin Jiyun was stunned. She was slightly envious, but she also understood that Chen Mengyan was Yang Ming's real girlfriend. Therefore, it was understandable that they bought a new house together. A girl's heart was always very delicate and sensitive. Seeing that Lin Jiyun's expression was gloomy, Chen Mengyan immediately understood the key. She pulled Lin Jiyun's hand and said, "Why are you still standing there stupidly? Let's decorate our house together." "Our house?" Lin Jiyun was stunned. She looked at Chen Mengyan suspiciously, thinking that she said something wrong. "Don't say that you are a good student. You must live in the dormitory." Chen Mengyan smiled. After listening to Chen Mengyan's words, Lin Jiyun was really surprised. There was actually a place for her in this villa. Looking at Lin Jiyun's stunned look, Chen Mengyan said, "Do you think Yang Ming is so kind? He bought such a big house for me. Can I live here?" Chen Mengyan blamed the reason for buying the villa on Yang Ming. In fact, wasn't she the one who chose this place? As a matter of fact, Chen Mengyan's name was written on the villa's property certificate. However, Chen Mengyan couldn't say too much. She blamed Yang Ming and included him in the list of premeditated perverts. After listening to Chen Mengyan's words, the envy in her heart was swept away. Lin Jiyun happily picked up the things on the ground and began to decorate the new home with Chen Mengyan. Chen Mengyan didn't intend to tell Lin Jiyun about the villa. After all, this was a house that Yang Ming bought for her. It had an extraordinary meaning. However, since Zhou Jiejie lived here, Lin Jiyun wasn't left out. Besides, this villa was really big. It was a bit empty for two people to live here. This room. Lin Jiyun looked at the bedroom that had been properly decorated and asked, "Sister Yan, is this your room?" "It's not mine. It's Zhou Jiejie's." Chen Mengyan glanced and explained. Chapter 756. Zhou Jiejie. Lin Jiyun seemed to have heard of this name. After all, Lin Jiyun wasn't the kind of student who didn't pay attention to the outside world. The school forum selected the campus belle of each department, and she was one of them. A very pitiful girl. When Zhou Jiejie was mentioned, Chen Mengyan's heart was always a little blocked. She didn't know when she could wake up and enjoy this beautiful life again. "In a while, let's go and see her. Maybe she will lie in bed for a lifetime." As Chen Mengyan said this, she looked a little melancholy. "Isn't she from our university?" Lin Jiyun suddenly remembered that Zhou Jiejie was also from Songjiang Industry University. Moreover, she was the campus belle of the computer science department. Why is she lying in bed? Lin Jiyun didn't know about Zhou Jie, so she had this question. There is a very complicated story in this. Let's go. Let's go to the hospital first. We will talk about it while walking. Chen Mengyan was a little melancholy. She didn't have the mood to decorate the house. Okay. Lin Jiyun nodded. She saw that Chen Mengyan's mood wasn't good. She knew that something must have happened to Zhou Jie. Although she had some psychological preparation, when she heard Chen Mengyan say that Zhou Jie took the bullet for Yang Ming, Lin Jiyun couldn't help but be moved. Although Lin Jiyun would do the same if she were in Zhou Jie's shoes, it was different. After she had a close relationship with Yang Ming, she became so unhesitant. However, Zhou Jie didn't even get Yang Ming's love. She could do this. It could be seen how infatuated she was with Yang Ming. I have asked Yang Ming to take her over and take care of her for a lifetime. You won't have any opinion, right? Chen Mengyan thought. After all, Lin Jiyun was now Yang Ming's woman. This matter still needed to be told to her. Lin Jiyun naturally wouldn't have any opinion. Chen Mengyan had no opinion. How could she object? What's more, Zhou Jie's story was really sad and beautiful. Lin Jiyun felt that it was right to take care of her. However, Lin Jiyun was a little excited that Chen Mengyan could ask for her opinion. Did he have the right to speak in this family? Yang Ming didn't expect that the relationship between Lin Jiyun and Chen Mengyan would become so harmonious. When he called Chen Mengyan again at noon, he got a piece of news that made him even more stunned. Both of them were actually in Zhou Jie's ward. For a moment, Yang Ming was at a loss. He didn't know what exactly Chen Mengyan wanted to do. A three-party meeting. Are you going to the concert tomorrow? However, Yang Ming didn't care too much. He could do whatever he wanted. Anyway, as long as they didn't fight, it was always a good thing. Tomorrow, I'm going. My dad is fine. Chen Mengyan's mood was still good, which made Yang Ming feel relieved. Then, is Lin Jiyun going too? Yang Ming asked tentatively. You have to ask your sister Lin. After Chen Mengyan got along with Lin Jiyun in the morning, she didn't have the previous awkwardness. The relationship between the two was much more harmonious. Therefore, Chen Mengyan didn't feel that there was anything wrong with going to the concert with Lin Jiyun. As he spoke, the phone was handed to Lin Jiyun's ear. Lin Jiyun was shocked and hurriedly said, "Hello. Jiyun, let's go to Shuya's concert tomorrow," asked Yang Ming. Okay. Lin Jiyun was a little stunned by Chen Mengyan's sudden phone call. She didn't listen carefully to what Yang Ming said, so she agreed. Chen Mengyan smiled. Lin Jiyun's character was still a bit weak. She needed to be trained well so that she could be independent in society. Chen Mengyan wasn't a fool. Yang Ming's career was getting bigger and bigger. He would definitely need a lot of helpers in the future. The people who could be trusted by him, in addition to his parents and Zhang Bin, had to rely on his women. She wasn't a person who didn't have a sense of the overall situation. She knew that Yang Ming put Lin Jiyun in the position of the company's manager to train her so that she could be prepared for a bigger career in the future. Therefore, Chen Mengyan wouldn't deliberately suppress Lin Jiyun's ability. Through the last time in the car, she cried with grievance once. She also found out Yang Ming's weakness. Only the more she tolerated, the more tolerant she was, and the better she coordinated the relationship with Lin Jiyun, Yang Ming would feel more guilty about her. In this way, she could always maintain the most important position in Yang Ming's heart. Chen Mengyan took the phone and said to Yang Ming with some sarcasm, "Your purpose of hugging both women has been achieved. What else is there?" Yang Ming listened to Chen Mengyan's sarcastic tone. He was a little embarrassed and said, "I don't mean anything else." I always have to treat everyone equally. I can't favor one and discriminate against the other, right? It's only fair that everyone goes together. I'm too lazy to care about you. Chen Mengyan snorted. Drive to the hospital to pick us up later. Okay, no problem. Yang Ming quickly agreed. Looking at Chen Mengyan and Lin Jiyun walking out of the hospital hand in hand, Yang Ming's nervous heart suddenly relaxed. It seemed that the relationship between the two really had a breakthrough. No wonder Chen Mengyan refused to go to the concert with Lin Jiyun 2 days ago, but she didn't put forward any objections just now. How is Jia? Yang Ming opened the back door for Chen Mengyan and Lin Jiyun and asked with a sigh. It's still the same. Chen Mengyan shook her head. Don't you want to go up and take a look? Today, I won't go. Every time I see it, it will be very painful. Yang Ming didn't have much of a romantic relationship with Zhou Jia, but he had tried very hard to fall in love with this strong and persistent girl who was willing to give everything for her lover. From Zhou Jiajia's diary, he learned about Zhou Jiajia's usual emotions. Yang Ming began to feel more and more heartbroken. Chen Mengyan nodded. Wasn't she in the same mood? Every time she saw Zhou Jiajia, her heart was very bitter. Chen Mengyan and Lin Jiyun were still sitting in the back seat, and Yang Ming didn't say anything. Where are we going? Yang Ming started the car. Accompany us to buy some electrical appliances. Chen Mengyan instructed. Why do you want to buy electrical appliances? Yang Ming didn't know that Chen Mengyan had already taken Lin Jiyun to the villa. Of course, it is to buy for our family. In the morning, Sister Lin and I went to buy bedding and daily necessities, but for electrical appliances, we still have to choose together. Chen Mengyan said. Yang Ming looked at Chen Mengyan's plain smiling face. It was really strange. Once upon a time, Chen Mengyan, this little vinegar jar, faintly began to have the demeanor of the master of the harem. Okay, let's go to Xinhe department store. I have a VIP card. Right, Jiyun also has one. Yang Ming smiled and said, Mengyan, do you want to get one for you? That's not necessary. When I buy things, I will be with you or Sister Lin. Why do I need to get so many? Chen Mengyan knew that the young master of Xinhe department store was a tutor of Lin Jiyun and Yang Ming. In the afternoon, Yang Ming was asked to buy with him, but Chen Mengyan often asked Lin Jiyun's opinion and then made the final decision. She rarely listened to Yang Ming's opinion. However, Yang Ming had no opinion. He didn't have any special requirements for these things. Moreover, seeing the two girls walking together in harmony was worth more than anything else. However, he didn't know if Chen Mengyan would still be like this after knowing about Xiao Qing and Sun Jia, and even Zhao Ying's matter. She definitely wouldn't. For Lin Jiyun and Zhou Jiajia's special experience, it was understandable that Chen Mengyan could accept them. But for others, Chen Mengyan probably wouldn't be so easy to talk to. She was still brooding about Lan Ling's matter, but Chen Mengyan didn't mention it. The goods in Xinhe department store were very complete. The three of them also ordered the commonly used furniture. Anyway, there would be a special car to help them send it back. Looking at Yang Ming and the two girls chatting and laughing as they directed the workers to move a pile of furniture and electrical appliances into the villa, Wang Xiaoyan's anger had nowhere to vent. Isn't this Yang Ming too much of a playboy? This Chen Mengyan was really patient. She had already brought a woman home, and she was still talking and laughing with her. I hope Xiao Ying doesn't follow in his footsteps. Thinking of every morning, Yang Ming still called someone to send flowers on time, and the ambiguous words on the cards were getting more and more ridiculous. This made Wang Xiaoyan want to kill Yang Ming. While she was sulking, the phone rang. Wang Xiaoyan looked at the phone number and directly hung up. But it didn't take long for the phone to come in again. Wang Xiaoyan hesitated for a moment and finally pressed the answer button. However, her tone was very indifferent. What is it? Baby girl, do you miss your father? There was a kind middle-aged man's voice on the other side of the phone. No. Wang Xiaoyan replied coldly. Ah, hee hee. The person on the other side of the phone couldn't help but laugh twice. He was a little embarrassed. Are you still angry with me? No. Wang Xiaoyan still replied coldly. Then when will you come home? The person on the other side of the phone asked. Didn't we agree? Before I graduate from college, I have my own life. After graduation, I will listen to you and go back to get married. Wang Xiaoyan's tone was still very calm. That's fine. You take care of yourself. I'm hanging up, remember to call your father often. The person on the other side of the phone said, also, don't create the organization you created. It's just a small matter. The situation there is different from Europe. Don't cause trouble. It's none of your business. Wang Xiaoyan hung up the phone after she finished speaking. With a sigh, Wang Xiaoyan laughed at herself, but she was a little envious of the two girls in the opposite villa. In any case, they have their own love and their own pursuit. What about her? She ran out, but she was still monitored by the family. Although Wang Xiaoyan didn't know who her father sent, she could also feel that someone was always monitoring her. Chapter 757. Yang Ming, the culprit who made Wang Xiaoyan angry every day, was still unaware. Who would have thought that the flower delivery man would make such a blunder? However, Sun Jia could still receive flowers every day, so Yang Ming didn't suspect anything was wrong at all. Sitting on the brand new leather sofa, watching the two charming girls busily tidying up the new house, Yang Ming couldn't help but squint his eyes in enjoyment. In just 1 year, he went from a poor boy with no money to a top billionaire with 10 billion yuan. He used to have some inferiority complex and still regarded Qin Mengyan as a dream lover, but he could actually have two. This made Yang Ming have an unreal feeling. King of assassins, special abilities, voodoo, these things that seemed to be very far away from life were actually related to him. Although there was some element of luck in his success. But things in this world often seem to be accidental, they contained inevitability. If Yang Ming didn't have compassion for the old man who set up the stall, then he wouldn't have gotten such a pair of glasses with special abilities. Similarly, if Yang Ming didn't stand up for Fang Tian in the detention center, the two people who didn't have any intersection would never meet again in the future, let alone Fang Tian accepting him as an apprentice. Therefore, Yang Ming's success wasn't enviable. Maybe some people would say that Yang Ming was lucky, but those were jealous people. Since ancient times, there have been many good people who inadvertently helped the gods and got successful stories and fables. However, most people have heard of similar stories, but when they encounter similar things, they won't do it. If others did it and got benefits, these people would be jealous. This was the twisted mentality of some people. If they were jealous, they would find ways to take it for themselves. This was the so-called an innocent man gets into trouble because of his wealth. Therefore, only a few trustworthy people knew that Yang Ming had special abilities and got the black gold from Dorsk. However, Shuya was an anomaly. When Yang Ming killed Dorsk and transferred the money, Shuya saw it all. If it weren't for Shuya's identity, which made Yang Ming seriously suspect that she had some connection with Suya, Yang Ming would really consider whether to kill her. Yang Ming wanted to investigate Shuya's life, but unfortunately, his sphere of influence was limited to Songjiang, or Donghai, and Jiduan City, but that was only in the province, not to mention the distant Hong Kong. Old Buffon didn't have any power in Hong Kong, so it was difficult for Yang Ming to get anything useful. Even if he found a private investigator to investigate, he would only get the surface. Yang Ming. Why are you sitting down? A shout interrupted Yang Ming's thoughts. When he looked up, he saw Chen Mengyan standing in front of him with her hands on her waist, staring at him. Listening to this familiar tone, Yang Ming had the illusion of returning to high school. At that time, when he skipped class, Chen Mengyan always lectured him like this. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but smile. He patted his thigh and said, Come up and give me a hug. You're not serious. Chen Mengyan glanced at Lin Jiyun not far away with her eyes. She bared her teeth at Yang Ming and said, Who cares? Don't be mischievous. Come and help. Okay. Yang Ming knew that Chen Mengyan was embarrassed in front of Lin Jiyun, so he didn't force it. Things always had to be done step by step, right? With the current result, Yang Ming was already very satisfied. Although the house had been renovated, when it was really decorated, he found that there were still a lot of places to do. Even if the bed sheets were newly bought, Chen Mengyan was a clean freak. She washed them again and left them on the balcony. Most of the time, Lin Jiyun wouldn't express her own opinions, but Chen Mengyan would discuss with her if she had any ideas. This made Yang Ming feel very happy. Whether the harem was harmonious or not, it directly affected the quality of life and career of Yang Ming. Until the bought things were put in place, the three of them sat on the sofa tiredly. Chen Mengyan didn't have the mind to care about the fact that Yang Ming was sitting between her and Lin Jiyun at the moment. Because she was too tired, Chen Mengyan was too lazy to say anything. Besides, with Yang Ming's personality, this would happen sooner or later. Yang Ming leaned his head comfortably on Lin Jiyun's soft chest, but he put his hand on Chen Mengyan's thigh. Don't push your luck. Chen Mengyan patted Yang Ming's hand and told him not to move. What time is it? Lin Jiyun looked up by chance, but she saw that it was already dark outside the window. Yang Ming didn't move his head. His eyes turned and saw the phone on the coffee table not far away. Then, he said, It's 8:00. Are we going to do it? Lin Jiyun asked. Poochie. Yang Ming suddenly laughed out loud. He laughed until his whole body trembled. What are you laughing at? Lin Jiyun asked, baffled. Isn't it a bit too early to do it? What about Mengyan? Should we do it together? Yang Ming laughed until tears came out. What's a bit early? It's already 8:00. It's not early anymore. Lin Jiyun was somewhat inexplicable. Chen Mengyan also didn't understand. She patted Yang Ming and said in a bad mood, Are you having epilepsy? Why are you laughing? Yang Ming sighed. My two wives are really too pure. If I were to say those words to Sun Jia, I don't know what effect it would bring. So, he explained, haven't you heard of a joke? What joke? We asked you what time it is. Why did you think of a joke? Chen Mengyan said angrily. The joke is like this. Yang Ming said with a smile, there is a couple. The husband asked the wife, what time is it? The wife looked at the watch and said, 10:00. The husband asked, is it the same time? The wife said, it's too early. Others haven't slept yet. The husband was a little annoyed and asked, I'm asking you, is it 10:00? The wife said, is it 11:00? The husband was annoyed and said, I'm asking you, is it 10:00? The wife was also annoyed and said, I said 11:00. If you don't do it for a day, you won't feel good, right? The husband said helplessly, I'm just asking, is it 10:00? The wife said impatiently, yes. Do it now, okay? Of course, the original joke was much more vulgar than this. Yang Ming just elegantly removed the swear words. Yang Ming said it so straightforwardly. How could Lin Jiyun and Chen Mengyan not understand? Chen Mengyan couldn't help but laugh and said, Yang Ming, you are really evil. Lin Jiyun was so shy that she blushed. How could she still laugh? She couldn't wait to find a hole to hide in. Between her and Chen Mengyan, only she and Yang Ming had that kind of relationship. Therefore, when Yang Ming said this joke, it seemed that she was in a hurry to do it with him. She said anxiously, I didn't mean that. I mean, is it 8 o'clock? It was fine if she didn't explain. Once she explained, Chen Mengyan coughed violently and almost laughed until she fainted. She said breathlessly, yes, yes, yes. You two can do it now. I'm going upstairs. Ha! Lin Jiyun was about to cry and stomped her feet. I don't want to do it now. Then when do you want to do it? Chen Mengyan asked with a smile. Lin Jiyun found that the more she explained, the worse it was. It was better not to explain. Yang Ming on the side was stunned. It turned out that girls could be so fierce when they made jokes. In fact, the reason why Chen Mengyan was so open was entirely because she was facing Yang Ming and Lin Jiyun. Yang Ming was the closest person to her. Chen Mengyan would not avoid anything in front of him. Lin Jiyun was also the closest person to Yang Ming. As a result, it was much more natural. Seeing Lin Jiyun's aggrieved crying face, Chen Mengyan couldn't tease her anymore, so she said, okay, let's not joke anymore. We haven't had dinner yet. Let's go eat something together. Let's go. I'm hungry too. Yang Ming stood up and said, it's not far from the school. There are many restaurants nearby. Let's go and have a look. Lin Jiyun saw that everyone was no longer joking with her, so she naturally nodded. Wang Guifan returned to Zhao Ying's residence with some melancholy. She stroked the exquisite BMW car key and thought about how to talk to Zhao Ying. Mom, why did you go out so early in the morning? Why didn't you tell me and Dad? We were worried sick. Zhao Ying saw her mother come back and said quickly. Oh, it's like this. I went out to choose a car and a house for you. Wang Guifan said directly. What? You went to buy a car and a house? Zhao Ying was shocked. She thought last night that even if her mother went to buy a car and a house, she would find a way to stop it. But she didn't expect her mother to act so quickly. So she asked, you have already bought it? Yeah, the money has been paid. Wang Guifan shook the car key in her hand and said, I also bought one myself. Where did your money come from? Zhao Ying looked at the key in her mother's hand and was furious. Isn't this causing trouble for me? What is my relationship with Yang Ming? How can you just casually ask for things from others? When the time comes, how can I pay it back? I called Little Yang, and Little Yang directly asked someone to transfer the money. Wang Guifan said, Little Yang is so straightforward. AI. Zhao Ying sighed. She didn't expect Yang Ming to be so indulgent with her mother, but what was he thinking? Ying, come in. Mom has something to talk to you about. Wang Guifan said. Zhao Ying frowned and followed. Although she didn't know what her mother was going to do, she wanted to talk to her mother about the car and the house. After entering the house, Wang Guifan closed the door and sat on the bed. Then she said to Zhao Ying, Ying, how is your relationship with Little Yang? What do you mean how is it? It's pretty good. Zhao Ying was somewhat inexplicable when she heard her mother's question. Chapter 758. Is it really good? Wang Guifan asked suspiciously. It's really good. Zhao Ying didn't know what her mother was going to do, so she nodded and said. Ying, then you tell me, how far has your relationship with Yang Ming developed? Wang Guifan lowered her voice and asked quietly. What do you mean? Xiao Ying's face was red. Apparently, she didn't want to talk about this issue, so she deliberately pretended not to know. What other step? That is, how close are the two of you? Wang Guifin didn't pay much attention to her daughter's expression. She thought that her daughter really didn't understand, so she explained. Mom, why are you asking these questions? Zhao Ying couldn't pretend not to understand this time. Her mother explained in detail. If she still didn't understand, then she was a fool. Of course, I have to ask. Wang Guifin said, Mom has to understand your current situation. Since you don't want to say, then I will ask. Have you held hands? Zhao Ying thought about it. Yang Ming really held her hand, but it seemed to be the kind of relationship between siblings. When they were robbed in high school, Yang Ming did hold her hand. In order to perfunctorily answer her mother, Zhao Ying nodded. Oh, then have you kissed? Wang Guifin continued to ask. Ah. Zhao Ying was stunned. She remembered the accident when she went to the temple fair with Yang Ming a few days ago. This kiss, although it was a bit of an accident, later on, no one could say it clearly. It was full of feelings. Only the two parties knew. After hesitating, Zhao Ying nodded. If this wasn't a kiss, then what was it? A kiss. It seemed to be the same. Wang Guifin nodded secretly. Fortunately, this silly daughter still knows how to kiss, so she continued to ask, then, have you guys gone to bed? What? Zhao Ying widened her eyes and looked at her mother incredulously. After a while, she said, Mom, how can you ask this? Why can't I ask? Wang Guifin said, if I ask you, just tell me the truth. No. Zhao Ying shook her head. Not yet. Wang Guifin was also surprised. She frowned and said, why not? Wang Guifin finally thought that she had found the crux of the problem. However, as long as the crux of the problem was found, there would always be a solution. What do you mean by not yet? Zhao Ying didn't understand what her mother meant. It was reasonable to say that premarital sex was something that every parent should resist, but looking at her mother's expression and tone, it seemed like she was complaining about why she didn't sleep with Yang Ming. Sigh. Wang Guifin sighed and said, Mom used to be your age. Especially a young and vigorous boy like Yang Ming, it's inevitable that he would have such thoughts and needs. If you don't give it to him, aren't you forcing him to find other women? The reason why Wang Guifin guessed so wasn't completely unreasonable. She was still very confident in her daughter's appearance and figure. She wasn't a national beauty, but at least she was one of the best. If she participated in a talent contest, it wouldn't be strange to get the first place. Therefore, Wang Guifin thought that the reason why Yang Ming went to find other women was because her daughter wasn't willing to be closer to him. Which man would be able to endure it? Mom, what do you want to say? Zhao Ying saw that her mother's words were getting more and more outrageous, so she couldn't help but stop. What did I say? Don't you understand? Wang Guifin shook her head and said, do you know what I heard when I bought the house today? What did they say? Zhao Ying was inexplicable. They said that Yang Ming has a villa in the place where I bought the house. Moreover, he bought it with his girlfriend. Wang Guifin said in a hurry, and that girlfriend isn't you, but a girl surnamed Qin. Ah. Zhao Ying was stunned and said, you know it. What do you mean I know it? What do I know? Wang Guifin was stunned when she heard Zhao Ying's words. She immediately understood. So, you know about this matter. Zhao Ying didn't know how to explain it. Just now, when her mother suddenly mentioned this matter, Zhao Ying was shocked. She inadvertently said the wrong thing and exposed herself. Ying, why are you so stupid? Yang Ming has an affair with another woman behind your back. It's fine. Why don't you care when you know it? Wang Guifan said resentfully, what are you thinking? Mom. Zhao Ying couldn't speak because Qin Mengyan was Yang Ming's girlfriend. How was she? What qualifications did she have to care about others? However, how could she tell her mother? What you? What me? Since you know about this matter, then it can't be ignored. Wang Guifan said, even if you acquiesce to this matter, at least you have to talk to Xiao Yang. You have to always maintain the image that you are his legitimate girlfriend. What have you become now? You see, he bought a villa for the little vixen, but he didn't buy one for you. How can this be? You call him now and ask him to come over. If you can't say it, I will say it for you. Wang Guifan's calculation was to use this matter to get some benefits from Yang Ming. The reason was very simple. If you bought a villa for a woman outside, then you have to buy a manor for Zhao Ying, right? Mom, can you stop messing around? When she heard that she had to call Yang Ming, Zhao Ying was anxious. I will handle my own matter. Can you not participate in it? Why can't I participate? I am your mother. How could Wang Guifan let it go? Since she had caught Yang Ming's weakness, how could she give up if she didn't use it to get more benefits for herself and her daughter? If you don't call, I will. Seeing that her mother was really going to make a call, Zhao Ying simply said, Mom, don't call. Chen Mengyan is Yang Ming's real girlfriend. What? Chen Mengyan. Who is it? Wang Guifan was stunned. She didn't expect there to be a sudden change. Mom, it is the girl's surname Chen that you said. She is Yang Ming's girlfriend. Since Zhao Ying confessed, she didn't care. Her. What about you? What happened to you? Wang Guifan asked in amazement. I temporarily called Yang Ming to pretend to be my boyfriend. I wanted to fool you and Dad. Zhao Ying lowered her head and whispered. What you said is true. Wang Guifan asked numbly. Yes. Zhao Ying nodded. It is pretending. Wang Guifan suddenly felt like she was struck by lightning. She covered her chest and her face became pale. How could this be? Wang Guifan didn't expect the truth of the matter to be like this. Although Wang Guifan thought before that maybe Yang Ming wouldn't give up the girl's surname Qin, this was nothing. Zhao Ying was wronged. As long as Yang Ming's feelings for Zhao Ying were real, she would accept it. However, the current situation was that the girl's surname Qin was Yang Ming's boyfriend. Her daughter and he were just pretending to be a couple. How could Wang Guifan accept this? Today, she just enjoyed the benefits of being rich and powerful. She just thought that the rest of her life was settled. She could be a superior person, but it turned into nothing. How could Wang Guifan bear this? This feeling of losing something after having it was the most uncomfortable. Ying, you didn't lie to Mom, right? Wang Guifan looked at her daughter absent-mindedly. Mom. I didn't lie to you. Zhao Ying looked at her mother. How could she not understand the loss in her heart? Sometimes, Zhao Ying could understand her mother's greed and snobbery. After all, she had suffered for most of her life. So, she said, Mom, don't be like this. In the future, I will earn a lot of money for you, Ying, you don't understand. No matter how much you earn, can you afford to buy a villa? Can you afford a BMW? Wang Guifan shook her head. This feeling of being rich and powerful, you won't understand. Mom, let's return the car and the house tomorrow, or return them to Yang Ming. Zhao Ying sighed. This is my fault, no. After Wang Guifan heard Zhao Ying's words, she suddenly thought of something and said, since he pretended to be your boyfriend, why did he buy you a car and a house? How would I know? Maybe he has money. Zhao Ying couldn't explain it clearly, otherwise, she wouldn't be upset. Has money. Just buy things for others with money. Wang Guifan shook her head. Who is a fool? Buying a house and a car for an unrelated person. Even if he has money to burn, he won't do this kind of thing, right? Then. I don't know. Xiao Ying shook her head. Right, Ying, you said before that you held hands and kissed. What happened? Wang Guifan was snobbish, but she was still a little smart. Those were accidents. Xiao Ying hesitated. Accidents? I don't think it's that simple, right? Wang Guifan seemed to have grasped the life-saving straw and quickly asked, You tell Mom in detail. What happened? Actually. Xiao Ying and Wang Guifan were mother and daughter after all. Xiao Ying was also very upset these 2 days. She couldn't figure out the things between Yang Ming and herself. Now that there was someone to talk to, Xiao Ying simply didn't hide it. She told the several things that she and Yang Ming had experienced. The more Wang Guifan listened, the more relaxed her frowning brows became. After listening to the end, she showed a faint smile. Ying, tell Mom the truth. Do you like Xiao Yang? Xiao Ying bit her lip and softly said, N. If I guessed correctly, Xiao Yang also likes you, right? Wang Guifan asked with a smile. I don't know. Xiao Ying shook her head. Silly daughter. Wang Guifan shook her head and sighed. Isn't this obvious? If he doesn't like you, why did he ask you to go to the temple fair? If he doesn't like you, why did he take on these trivial matters? Is it so easy to pretend to be someone else's boyfriend? Besides, he is willing to spend a lot of money for you. If he has no feelings for you, will he do this? Chapter 759. Yang Ming is a very good person. Xiao Ying hesitated and said. Although she was also somewhat inclined to her mother's point of view, this was after all a guess. Besides, even if this was the case, what could she do? Yang Ming's girlfriend was Qin Mengyan. This was a fact that couldn't be changed. No matter how good the person is, I have never heard of anyone buying a house and a car for a beggar. Wang Guifan saw it clearly. Mom is telling you that Xiao Yang must be interested in you. What can you do? Xiao Ying simply didn't argue with her mother about this issue. She just said, Yang Ming has a girlfriend now. Yeah, as you said, so what if he has a girlfriend? Wang Guifan said with some disdain, a girlfriend isn't a wife. As long as you aren't married, you have a chance to compete. Mom, what are you talking about? Xiao Ying was stunned, and then immediately said with a straight face, You want me to destroy other people's relationship? How can this be? Why can't it be done? If Xiao Yang doesn't like you, you are shamelessly sticking to him. That is destroying other people's relationship. But you are different. You are in love with each other. How can you say that you are destroying it? Wang Guifan said. Mom, can you not come up with these bad ideas? Xiao Ying frowned. Yang Ming is not the kind of person who likes the new and gets tired of the old. Let's not talk about whether I can succeed or not. Even if I succeed, how can you guarantee that there won't be another girl in the future to take Yang Ming away from me? Ah. Wang Guifan obviously didn't think of the more profound meaning of this layer. She just considered the immediate benefits. Since Xiao Ying analyzed it like this, she had to consider it carefully. Indeed, what Xiao Ying said was very reasonable. If her daughter's intervention could make Yang Ming abandon the girl's surname Qin, then he might abandon Xiao Ying one day in the future. However, if she didn't do this, what else could she do? Wang Guifan couldn't bear to see the glory and wealth at her fingertips disappear overnight. Now that she finally saw a glimmer of hope, how could she give up so easily? Inying, you don't have to worry so much. A woman's happiness sometimes has to be fought for by herself. If you miss this opportunity, there won't be another one. Wang Guifan gritted her teeth and said. She really didn't want her daughter to become like her in the future, snobbish and greedy, but there was no other way. She lived like a dog for a little money. She did not want her present to become her daughter's future. Although on the one hand, Wang Guifan couldn't give up the temptation of wealth in front of her, but more importantly, she was planning for her daughter's future. In fact, this worry was also due to some kind of abnormal psychology. Originally, he thought that at this time, the restaurants near the school would be very quiet and even closed early. But after Yang Ming drove over, he found that every shop was in full swing. Many years later, some rural students who returned to school early came here to do short-term work as greeters to earn some tuition. 3 of you, please come in. 3 of you, what do you want to eat? Our restaurant's specialty, roasted lamb leg, is the best. Such voices came one after another. Yang Ming didn't know what to eat. In the face of a group of enthusiastic girls, Yang Ming really couldn't refuse anyone. He had to look at Chen Mengyan and Lin Jiyun. Which one shall we eat? Yang Ming smiled bitterly. How about hot pot? Chen Mengyan was also a little embarrassed. Each greeter cast an expectant look. The closest one to them was a hot pot restaurant. Okay. Lin Jiyun didn't care. She was not picky. Yang Ming knew that these bosses gave these greeters a commission in order to attract customers. Therefore, every time they attracted a customer, they would get a lot of income. Seeing that the 3 people had made a decision, the other greeters showed a disappointed expression on their faces, but there was no other way. Every industry had its own rules. They couldn't just rob from others, right? The greeter of the hot pot restaurant was happy. After all, Yang Ming and the others were eating here, so they got a commission of 10 yuan. Yang Ming and the others were about to enter, but they heard a noise coming from the side. Who are you? Can you not bother me? Another voice said, Son, I am your father. Why don't you even recognize your father? Both voices were very familiar. Yang Ming couldn't help but turn his head. His expression was very surprised. The 2 people who were arguing over there were actually Chen Afu and Chen Dazhuang. Chen Afu was wearing a waiter's uniform at the moment, and Chen Dazhuang grabbed his hand and refused to let go. Chen Mengyan also heard the conversation between the 2 people. She also looked at Chen Afu and Chen Dazhuang with a stunned expression. Chen Afu and Chen Dazhuang are father and son. This was something that Yang Ming couldn't think of in any case. The 2 people pulled and quarreled. Chen Afu impatiently shook off Chen Dazhuang's hand, then he got into a taxi parked on the side of the road and quickly left here. Chen Dazhuang, on the other hand, had a face full of sighs and worries. He staggered as he watched Chen Afu's car leave. Then, he slowly walked away. Your second uncle and Chen Afu are father and son. Yang Ming looked at Chen Mengyan strangely. How would I know? Chen Mengyan shook her head. She also looked suspicious. Second uncle was sentenced when I was very young, and my second aunt took the child and ran away with someone else. We have lost contact since then. Besides, this kind of cousin is not very close. I don't know much about it. Otherwise, how can I not know that I am related to Chen Afu after being in the same class for so long? Yang Ming nodded. Chen Mengyan was also telling the truth. This kind of cousin, if you want to talk about it, even people who couldn't reach each other could be considered as distant. They weren't familiar with each other, not to mention that her second aunt ran away with another man. After that, they lost contact, so it was normal that they didn't know each other. However, it was really amazing that Chen Afu and Chen Dazhuang could be connected together. Yang Ming shrugged and didn't take it seriously. He couldn't care about the private affairs of other people. He walked into the hot pot restaurant with Chen Mengyan and Lin Jiyun and left this matter behind. Chen Afu was really baffled today. Out of nowhere, a person suddenly appeared and claimed to be his father. There was no end to the dilly-dallying. He still had things to do urgently. His master, Elder Yu, was in a hurry to find him, so Chen Afu had to rush over as soon as possible. He could only get rid of this inexplicable man first. Recently, there were always police cars patrolling on the road with flashing lights parked on the side of the road, which made it difficult for Chen Afu to make a move on the cars on the road. Elder Yu was probably looking for him for this reason. Although Chen Afu didn't know what kind of evil voodoo Elder Yu practiced, Chen Afu was still very happy to do this kind of mutually beneficial thing. Chen Afu felt that he was like the king of hell who controlled the life and death of others. As long as he appeared, someone would die. These low-level voodoo had no lethality, but it was enough to scare people. After Chen Afu learned it, he used it vividly. Chen Afu took out his mobile phone and dialed Elder Yu's phone number. "Hey, Master, it's me, Fu. I just killed someone on the ancient Han Road. Why are you here now?" Xia Shui looked at the messy scene and was at a loss. It was really difficult to find witnesses in this kind of backstreet alley. If it were normal times, it might be treated as an ordinary traffic accident, and the criminal police department would not be notified, but now it was a sensitive period. The traffic police who came saw that the scene was suspicious and immediately called Xia Shui. Because of this, although Elder Yu absorbed part of the blood of the dead body to quench sinister voodoo, he left some leeway, so the body did not mutate like Su Daji's body on West Star Mountain. This was also done by Elder Yu in order not to attract too much attention from the police. Although the effect was not as obvious as before, it was a long-term plan. If there were mutated corpses everywhere, some mysterious departments might be sent to participate in the investigation. At that time, there was no telling what would happen. After Xia Shui took photos of the scene, the rest was handed over to the forensic doctor to find out the cause of death before the next decision could be made. While eating, Yang Ming received a call from Wang Guifin. "Little Yang, it's me, Yingying's mother," Wang Guifin said with a smile. "Oh, Auntie, hello. What's the matter?" Although Yang Ming was not very impressed with Wang Guifin's character, he was still very polite to her because of her relationship with Zhao Ying. "This is the case. I was thinking that since the house is bought, shouldn't we decorate it and add some household items?" Wang Guifin said very righteously. "I'm sorry, Auntie. I almost forgot." Yang Ming's own house was also renovated for a long time after he bought it. He just bought a bunch of household items today. After the house was bought, it could not be moved in directly, so Yang Ming did not think much about it and said directly, "How much does it cost?" "This. I haven't calculated it." Wang Guifin wanted to ask for 200,000 first, but she didn't open her mouth. "So, I will ask someone to send you 1 million first. If it's not enough, you can call me." Yang Ming estimated the price according to the standard of his villa. "Ah!" Wang Guifin was delighted. This was far more than her budget. The rest of the money, wouldn't it be? Yang Ming wouldn't ask for it back. "That's fine. I will wait, I will ask someone to contact you now. Is this the number?" Yang Ming glanced at the caller ID on the phone and asked. Yes. Wang Guifin said quickly. "Okay, you wait for a while." After Yang Ming finished, he called Bao Sanli and asked him to find someone to do it. Originally, Wang Guifin had some doubts about whether Yang Ming could be good to her daughter in the future. Now that Yang Ming gave her 1 million without hesitation, she no longer thought about it and waited for the phone call happily. Not long after, someone who claimed to be Mr. Yang's subordinate called and asked for Wang Guifen's location. He said that he would immediately send the bank card to her. Sure enough, after less than 20 minutes, someone knocked on the door. A young man in black handed a bank card to Wang Guifen respectfully. Wang Guifen was so excited that her hands trembled a little. After sending the person away, she picked up the phone excitedly and checked the balance on the card. There was actually 1,200,000. The bank was closed at night. Bao Somli couldn't open a new card, so he simply found a card with a similar amount and sent it to Wang Guifan. Anyway, he didn't care about the small change. Wang Guifan really wanted to scream loudly. As she was excited, Zhao Ying came over and looked at her mother strangely. She asked, "Mom, what's wrong with you?" "Ah, no, nothing," Wang Guifan said quickly. "What are you holding in your hand?" "A bank card." Zhao Ying saw the bank card in her mother's hand and couldn't help but frown. "What happened?" "Ah, this is the case. Xiao Yang gave me 1,200,000 to renovate the house." Wang Guifan knew that even if she hid it, her daughter would know from Yang Ming, so she simply said it. The renovation cost more than 1 million. Zhao Ying looked at her mother in amazement, but she immediately understood something. She couldn't help but say with some displeasure, "Mom, how can you be like this? How many things have you asked for from Yang Ming today? Now you still want money. My daughter has been given to him. What's wrong with me asking for some things?" Wang Guifan disagreed. Zhao Ying looked at her mother's appearance and knew that it was useless to say more. She couldn't help but sigh. The relationship between herself and Yang Ming is getting more and more unclear. How can I face it in the future? Chen Mengyan and Lin Jiyun still had to go home at night. Chen Fei had nothing to do, so Mother Chen didn't have to accompany him overnight. In the senior management ward, there were specialized nurses taking care of him 24 hours a day. There wouldn't be any major problems. Therefore, Chen Mengyan had to go home, and she couldn't bring Yang Ming home with her. As for Lin Jiyun, when she saw that Chen Mengyan had gone back, she was embarrassed to live alone with Yang Ming. Especially after the joke of whether or not was made, Lin Jiyun didn't want to be laughed at by Chen Mengyan. After sending off the two women, Yang Ming drove home alone. When he passed by the Hanqi Ancient Road, he saw many police cars parked on the side of the road with flashing lights. A taxi that was smashed beyond recognition had been pulled into a tow truck. Among the crowd, Xia Shui's figure was among them. "Xia Shui!" Yang Ming opened the window and shouted at Xia Shui. Xia Shui heard the shout and looked back. She saw Yang Ming. She came over with a bitter smile. "Why? Are you passing by?" "I'm going home. I passed by here and saw you by chance." Yang Ming explained, "So I said hello." "You're frowning. Why? What's wrong? Isn't it because of the investigation of the haunting?" Xia Shui lowered her voice and said. She had nothing to hide from Yang Ming. The relationship between Chen Fei and Yang Ming was there, so Yang Ming was clear about Chen Fei's matter. Yang Ming was also present that day. Recently, there have been public opinions and rumors in Songjiang City. If it isn't solved as soon as possible, there will be big problems, haunting again. Yang Ming frowned and seemed to think of something. However, there were too many things recently, and some of his thoughts were unclear. He had to comfort her, "Don't be too tired. Have a good rest. How old are you? Don't be so tired that you have wrinkles and can't find a husband. If I can't find a husband, I will find you." Xia Shui clenched her teeth and said fiercely. Yang Ming let out an "aw." Only then did he realize that his words were a bit ambiguous. Last time, he almost had something with Xia Shui, which made the relationship between them somewhat unnatural. Xia Shui was just joking, but when she saw Yang Ming's awkward look, she couldn't help but think of some past events. Her face turned red and she explained, I mean, if I have no food in the future, I will find you. But you promised me. It was fine if she didn't explain. Once she explained, it became more ambiguous. Chapter 761. Ugh, no problem. After Yang Ming listened, he couldn't help but remember the previous scene. He nodded awkwardly. But fortunately, Yang Ming's face was getting thicker and thicker, so there wasn't too much unnaturalness. After Xia Shui explained, she probably felt that her explanation was easy to misunderstand, especially since her relationship with Yang Ming wasn't so pure. Originally, Xia Shui and Yang Ming didn't have to worry too much about what they said and did. Therefore, she didn't think about whether the words long-term meal ticket would cause any ambiguity in the association. Xia Shui didn't understand anything, but she was more careless in the past. She didn't care much about this, but now it was different. She thought about what she said. It seemed that it was a bit too easy to cause misunderstandings, so she coughed twice and said, then. I'm on duty now. Let's talk another day. Xia Shui was much more mature than half a year ago. She had some leadership qualities in her gestures. When this sentence was said, it didn't seem abrupt. Instead, it was very natural. Yang Ming nodded and glanced at Xia Shui. If there is anything, call me. In fact, if you don't always go against me, we can still be good friends. We can drink together another day. Xia Shui nodded. Hee hee. Xia Shui smiled and waved to Yang Ming. Okay, then it's settled. Looking at the tow truck that was far away, Yang Ming hesitated. The shabby taxi had a feeling of déjà vu, but he couldn't remember where he had seen it. Yang Ming shook his head. Maybe I'm too sensitive. Things like taxis are everywhere on the street. It's not surprising that I have a feeling of déjà vu. When he got home, he saw his parents sitting on the sofa in the living room and talking about something. His father frowned and held a cigarette in his hand. He seemed to be troubled. His mother, on the other hand, was unhappy. She said to herself, if you let him come, then I won't go to work. Now there are many units that invite me. But, now it's not just a classmate relationship. His family also has some connections. It's reasonable for me to refuse. Yang Dehai said helplessly. That won't do either. You know what Qian Xinqing was like when he was in school. Sticking to me all day long. Mother Yang said with some disgust. What era was that? What's more, old Qian is married now. He just came back from studying in Japan a few years ago. He's a lot more mature now. Yang Dehai said, now, the general manager of the X steel factory who is cooperating with the factory is his brother-in-law. How can I refuse? Dad, Mom, what are you arguing about? After Yang Ming entered the house, he quickly asked. One of your mother's pursuers wanted to enter the company and take a senior position. Your mother and I are discussing what to do. Yang Dehai didn't hide it from Yang Ming. He had already regarded Yang Ming as an adult. Oh. I just heard that his family has some connections. What's going on? Asked Yang Ming. This is the case. After the company's reform, the steel factory that originally cooperated with the company can no longer meet the company's production needs in terms of raw steel supply. We can only contact another steel factory. Yang Dehai explained, you also know that the current steel factory is a monopoly enterprise. It's basically a seller's market situation. Although our relationship with the local government isn't weak, the steel factory is in another province. We can't let the leaders put pressure on others. In this negotiation, the other party's general manager put forward a condition. There is no problem with the supply, but his brother-in-law just came back from studying in Japan this year. He studied marketing. He recommended him to work here. In fact, it was said that he recommended a talent. In fact, it was clear that he was using it as an exchange condition. If I don't agree, there won't be any future business. How much does he want a yearly salary? Asked Yang Ming. About 1 million, but this doesn't matter. The company doesn't lack this money. Even if he comes and doesn't do anything, it's still okay to raise a person. Yang Dehai said until here and said, so I agreed before, but I didn't expect that when we had lunch together, I found that the person who came was actually your mother's and my former classmate, Qian Xinsheng. Then, you hesitated, and my mother was a little unhappy, right? Is that so? Yang Ming said with a smile after listening. Yang Dehai laughed twice and agreed with Yang Ming's point of view. Dad, Mom, I won't say much about this, but I think that I'm already so old. My mother isn't the kind of person who likes to do scandals, so it's not a big deal. Yang Ming said. That's also true. You see, you're not as good as a child. Yang Dehai said to Mother Yang, do you think I don't know your character? It's impossible to do anything with old Qian. If something could happen, it would have happened long ago. Would you still marry me in the past? What nonsense are you talking about? I'm just afraid that he will have some ideas and affect my work. Do you think I'm afraid that something will happen between me and him? Mother Yang said angrily, this time, in order to prove my innocence, I really have to let him come. Otherwise, it would seem that I have a guilty conscience. Hee hee. Yang Dehai didn't expect that his son's words would stimulate his wife to agree. He smiled and said, then it's settled. I can also reply to people. However, if he really has any bad signs, just fire him directly. There's no need to leave any face. Yang Ming said, as for the manager, leave it to me. Yang Ming's consistent point of view was that if you can't negotiate, then you have to use violence. Generally speaking, this kind of rich corporate executives were more afraid of death. The method of using violence to control evil was most suitable for them. Chapter 762. There was no doubt that the concert was very successful in terms of promotion and planning. This was the first time that Shuya held a concert in the mainland, and the first stop was actually chosen in Songjiang, a small place that was not well known. While everyone was puzzled, they had to come here from afar. After all, this was the first concert, and the sensation it brought was unparalleled. Although Shuya had stops in many cities after that, the second stop was Macau. This made many of Shuya's fans somewhat impatient. If they wanted to see the concert as soon as possible, they could only come to Songjiang. After all, the Hong Kong, Macau, and Taiwan passes were not so easy to get in any city. Just like when Yang Ming went to Hong Kong, Songjiang was a prefecture-level city. It was very troublesome to get a Hong Kong, Macau, and Taiwan visa for personal travel. This couldn't help but make people feel a sense of detour. It was much closer to go directly from Hong Kong to Macau than to go to Songjiang and then go to Macau. This also led to a lot of doubts and speculations. They all guessed what special significance Songjiang had for Shuya. However, the most sensitive tabloid reporters couldn't find any valuable clues. On the one hand, Xu Haikua's power in Hong Kong was great. No one dared to touch confidential things. On the other hand, they really couldn't dig up any clues. After Shuya arrived in Songjiang, the people she contacted were nothing more than the organizers here. There were no others. Now, Shuya endorsed Lu Weishan Jewelry and Mingyang Heavy Industry. Most people thought that the reason why Shuya chose here as her first stop was because she had a cooperative relationship with the two companies here. Yang Ming looked at the dark crowd outside the car window and said to Chen Mengyan and Lin Jiyun, "Let's not get off the car. I will call Bao Sonli to come out and pick us up. Let's enter the stadium from the dedicated staff passage. This atmosphere makes people feel good. I want to go down and take a look." Chen Mengyan was infected by the atmosphere at the scene. She was also a fan of Shuya, but she was not so crazy. But when she saw that the people at the scene were cheering for Shuya, she couldn't help but want to be one of them. This. Yang Ming hesitated. Although there were fans of Shuya here, Yang Ming was still worried about the safety of Chen Mengyan. After all, there was nothing wrong with being careful. "I want to go down and take a look." Lin Jiyun spoke at this moment. Yang Ming looked at Lin Jiyun strangely because he knew Lin Jiyun's character very well. He knew that she wasn't someone who liked to join in the fun. Lin Jiyun's right. Yang Ming parked the car in the parking lot's dedicated area for work vehicles. This BMW was the original car of Bao Sonli and Ho Jinhan, so the security guards at the scene knew it. They didn't need to show their ID, and no one came up to check. After parking the car, a sharp-eyed security guard who recognized Yang Ming ran over. "Brother Yang. President Bao and President Ho have arrived. They are waiting for you." "Oh. They are already here." Yang Ming didn't expect Bao Sonli and Ho Jinhan to come so early. He thought about it and said, "I will walk around nearby first. I will look for them later." "Okay, Brother Yang." The security guard nodded. He thought that after Yang Ming left, he would inform Bao Sonli. Yang Ming accompanied Lin Jiyun and Chen Mengyan to the square. In the square, there were some vendors selling light sticks and small flags. For these things, the security guards saw them, but they didn't drive these vendors away. After all, this contributed to the atmosphere of the scene. Chen Mengyan and Lin Jiyun bought a light stick and a small flag. They shook it in their hands with satisfaction. Yang Ming found it funny. It seemed that the guests in the first row of the VIP seats rarely brought these things into the venue. As everyone knew, the first row of the VIP seats in the concert were some people with status. The tickets in this row weren't sold to the public. Generally, they were the higher-ups of the organizer. "Do you want a ticket?" A young man with a cigarette in his mouth walked over to Yang Ming and the other two people and asked in a low voice. "Ticket? What ticket?" Yang Ming was stunned. "Coming here, what else can it be?" "Of course, it is the concert ticket. There aren't many. If you want it, hurry up," the young man said. "How much is it?" Yang Ming asked casually. 800, the ordinary seats upstairs," the young man said. 800. So expensive. The normal ticket price is only 300, right? Yang Ming frowned. He had long heard that the scalpers were very black-hearted, but he didn't expect it to be so black-hearted. "TSK, that still needs to be calculated, right? Can you buy it for 300 now?" the young man said disdainfully. "That's not right, right? I heard that the ticket sales are very strict this time. One person can only buy 2 tickets. Is there a strict control of ticket scalpers?" Yang Ming asked, baffled. In the beginning, Bao Sonli vowed that the ticket sales were public and he was determined to crack down on ticket scalpers. When he just arrived, he met a ticket seller. "Our boss's father is..." The young man just said half a sentence, and he was interrupted by a young man wearing sunglasses behind him. "Don't talk nonsense." The young man in sunglasses patted the young man's shoulder and stopped him. "Boss. I..." The young man's face suddenly turned pale. He remembered that the boss told them to be low-key. "Forget it." The young man in sunglasses waved his hand and then looked at Yang Ming. Why are you asking so much? Right, do you want an autograph? Yang Ming suddenly thought of something and turned to Chen Mengyan and Lin Jiyun. Can I? Chen Mengyan was delighted. After all, girls had vanity. A copy of Shuya's autograph was enough to make many people envious. Of course, no problem. Yang Ming turned and asked Bao Sanli, where is Shuya? In the dressing room, just over there. I'll take you there. Bao Sanli pointed to the front and said. Su Li knew Yang Ming, so when Yang Ming pushed the door and came in, she didn't stop him. Instead, Shuya had her back to the door and asked, Su Li, who is it? It's Mr. Yang. Su Li said. Shuya was looking down at the concert list. When she heard the words, she turned around and was delighted. However, when she saw the two beauties behind Yang Ming, she was a little worried. However, there was nothing unnatural on her face. Yang Ming, you are here. And, my girlfriend said that she wanted your autograph. So, I brought them to find you. Although Yang Ming was polite, his behavior was not polite at all. He sat on the sofa in the dressing room. It turned out to be like this. Of course, there is no problem. When Shuya heard this, her heart immediately became active, but she looked at Chen Mengyan and Lin Jiyun quietly. She said, these two sisters, who is? Shuya didn't expect that Yang Ming's girlfriend would be her fan. How could she not take the opportunity to win him over? However, Shuya also had a little thought. When she opened her mouth, she turned Chen Mengyan and Lin Jiyun into two sisters. Chapter 763. In fact, in terms of age, Shuya was the same age as Chen Mengyan and Lin Jiyun. To be honest, Shuya was slightly younger. Her birthday was in December, so she was worthy of being called a little sister. However, Chen Mengyan and Lin Jiyun didn't think about this problem. Being called a little sister by a big star, any fan of Shuya would be happy and excited. Yang Ming was a little embarrassed. Although he had vaguely talked about the problem of the two girls with Shuya before, when he really brought them over, it was still a bit unnatural to introduce them. This is Lin Jiyun. You have seen her before. She is Chen Mengyan. Oh, it turned out to be like this. Shuya didn't show the slightest abnormality. Shuya had seen Lin Jiyun, but she had never seen Chen Mengyan. Based on her feelings, she had already determined that the girl next to Lin Jiyun was Chen Mengyan. She was just confirming it out of politeness. Shuya took out two newly released CDs from a drawer. After signing, she handed them to Chen Mengyan and Lin Jiyun. There is still time. How about we take a picture together as a souvenir? In fact, Shuya wanted to take a picture with Yang Ming openly and keep it with her. When she missed him, she could take it out and look at it. Okay. Chen Mengyan naturally didn't understand Shuya's thoughts. She was very happy with Shuya's enthusiasm and affinity. Chen Mengyan, Lin Jiyun, and Shuya took pictures separately. When it was Yang Ming's turn, Shuya asked inadvertently, "What about you?" "Me? Forget about me." Yang Ming wasn't interested in chasing stars, so he said indifferently. Chen Mengyan saw that Yang Ming wasn't very interested in Shuya, and she was a little annoyed. A big star took the initiative to take a picture with you. What kind of face is this? If it were other fans, they would definitely rush to get it, but Yang Ming said, "Forget it." In fact, this was also because Chen Mengyan felt that Yang Ming and Shuya wouldn't have any other relationship, so there would be such a reaction. A big star and a college student, the two people shouldn't have any intersection. However, Chen Mengyan ignored that Yang Ming's current identity wasn't just a college student, but a billionaire with tens of billions of dollars. She didn't expect that there was an unknown relationship between Yang and Shuya. "Yang Ming, why are you not giving me face?" Chen Mengyan whispered angrily, Of course, of course. At least, Shuya, who was close by, heard it clearly. Of course. But seeing that Yang Ming didn't seem to have much interest, he didn't force it, so he said, Then let's share a picture together. Okay. Without waiting for Yang Ming to speak, Chen Mengyan spoke first. Yang Ming had no choice but to stand up. However, when taking the photo, everyone's standing position was a bit difficult to arrange. 4 people took a photo together. There was always a priority. If Shuya stood in the middle, and Chen Mengyan and Lin Jiyun stood on both sides, then Yang Ming's position was a bit awkward. Should he stand on Lin Jiyun's side or Chen Mengyan's side? However, if Yang Ming stood in the middle, and Chen Mengyan and Lin Jiyun stood on both sides, then wouldn't Shuya, the protagonist, have to stand on the side? This seemed to be a bit unreasonable. The best solution was for Shuya and Yang Ming to stand in the middle, and Lin Jiyun and Chen Mengyan to stand on both sides. In this way, even if they weren't next to Yang Ming, they would be next to Shuya. It was justifiable no matter what. This was also the result that Shuya wanted the most. She had analyzed these assumptions before, so she proposed the request for a group photo. Chen Mengyan was very generous and stood on the side of Shuya. Lin Jiyun stood with some awkwardness on the side of Yang Ming. Suli picked up the digital camera and selected the continuous shooting function. She took 7 or 8 photos in one breath. She and Shuya were usually the closest people. She understood Shuya's thoughts very well. Although she didn't know that there was an old relationship between Shuya and Yang Ming, based on the current situation, Shuya must have a good impression of Yang Ming. Originally, as an agent, she should dissuade and kill Shuya's idea. After all, it wasn't so good to have a scandal with a female celebrity. However, her boss, Shu Haikwa, didn't object, so Suli didn't have to worry about that useless thought. In order to be afraid that Shuya would be dissatisfied, she took a few more photos to prepare for selection. After taking the photos, a staff member came in. When he saw Yang Ming, he nodded and said, Miss Shu, the concert is about to begin. Do you want to prepare? The fans over there have begun to enter the venue. He knew the identity of Yang Ming. He was a member of the organizer, so he didn't find it strange that Yang Ming was here. Okay. Shuya nodded. Then, let's enter the venue. Yang Ming turned to Shuya and said, I wish you a successful concert. Thank you. Shuya smiled sweetly. Chen Mengyan, Lin Jiyun, and Yang Ming came out of the dressing room together. Chen Mengyan was obviously dissatisfied with Yang Ming's behavior. Shuya is a big celebrity. Why are you so arrogant? What's wrong with a celebrity? Isn't a celebrity also a person? Yang Ming smiled indifferently. I didn't talk to her so much. Wasn't it because I was afraid that you would be jealous? TSK, I won't be jealous. Chen Mengyan snorted and didn't care that Lin Jiyun was also there. She blurted out, didn't we agree before? If you pursue her, I will never be jealous. Chen Mengyan had already regarded Lin Jiyun as one of her own, so there was no need to avoid anything. However, after she finished speaking, she remembered that Lin Jiyun was now a member of the family. She also had the right to speak. She asked, Sister Lin, you can object. I have no objection. Lin Jiyun naturally prioritized Chen Mengyan. She was already very happy to be with Yang Ming. She didn't have too many requests. You see, we have no objection. You missed the opportunity. You can't blame us. Chen Mengyan smiled and put her hands together. Yang Ming shook his head and didn't take it too seriously. Celebrities looked beautiful, but the turbid and dirty entertainment circle was no longer a secret. Since the pornographic photos were exposed, Yang Ming had no interest in these celebrities. Although Xu Yut seemed to be very pure, who would know the things behind her? Yang Ming didn't want to be made a cuckold. Bao Sanli and Ho Shinhan didn't dare to go far. They were waiting for Yang Ming not far away. When they saw Yang Ming coming over, they quickly greeted him. "Brother Yang, are we going in now?" "And, let's go now," said Yang Ming. Several people entered the VIP seats in the front row of the concert through a special passage. This place was separated from the audience behind. It was a relatively independent area, so there was no noise from people coming and going. Yang Ming's position was in the middle of the VIP seats. Bao Sanli and Ho Shinhan sat next to him. Both of them were boorish people. They didn't chase after celebrities, and they weren't very interested in the concert. However, since Yang Ming came, it wouldn't be good if they didn't come. So, they sat by the side. Those who entered the venue were some of Song Jiang's famous young masters. Their parents were either rich or high-ranking officials. Most of them were tickets given by Bao Sanli. These officials and businessmen naturally didn't have the leisure to come to the concert, so they gave the tickets to their children to let them come and watch. However, Yang Ming had only heard of these people. He learned some information from Bao Sanli, but he didn't have any dealings with them. What surprised Yang Ming was that Sun Jiwei actually came, too. Sun Jiwei and Wang Jitao were messing around last time. After Sun Jia found out, she scolded Sun Jiwei severely. Later, when he saw that Yang Ming actually became his brother-in-law, he didn't dare to do it again. However, he didn't have much of a good impression of Yang Ming. When he saw that Yang Ming was here, he didn't come to greet him. Yang Ming didn't care. He just regarded Sun Jiwei as a child. With Sun Jiwei, there were a few young men who he didn't know. However, at first glance, he could tell that their family conditions were very good. They looked arrogant. Yang Ming didn't bother with him. For this kind of child's temper, he always had to suffer some losses to gradually mature and grow up. Now, with his relationship with the Sun family, he really couldn't do anything to Sun Jiwei. What made Yang Ming feel a little surprised was that the young man who sold the tickets at the door was actually sitting in the VIP seat. "Who is that?" Yang Ming pointed to the young man and asked Bao Sanli. "Oh. The young master of the company's vice president Chu." "What's wrong? Brother Yang, did this kid offend you?" Bao Sanli asked subconsciously. "Not really. I'm just asking." Yang Ming waved his hand and didn't say much. "Sure enough, it's the company's internal affairs." Yang Ming smiled bitterly. No wonder he could get the tickets. It's hard to guard against a thief in your own home. How can I stop this kind of internal scalping? Yang Ming looked at these young dignitaries of Song Jiang. These people were also looking at Yang Ming. Sitting in the middle of the VIP seat, accompanied by two beauties. The strangest thing was that they had never heard of this person before. Especially with the two underground kings, Bao Sanli and Ho Shinhan, accompanying him, this made Yang Ming's identity even more suspenseful. There weren't many people in the VIP seats. After a while, it was full of people, but the audience hadn't been seated yet. It was bustling, and only half of them had entered. Yang Ming. A familiar figure flashed into the VIP seats. When he saw Yang Ming, he called out strangely. Yang Ming looked up and saw Tian Donghua and his girlfriend, Wang Shui. Old Tian. Yang Ming was also surprised that Tian Donghua would appear here, but after a little hesitation, he understood. The Tian family in Donghai was similar to Bao Sanli in Songjiang. Because of the relationship between Yang Ming and the Sun family, Bao Sanli would give some VIP tickets to the Tian family. "You are here, too. Damn, your seat is very badass, right?" Tian Donghua saw where Yang Ming was sitting and couldn't help but be stunned. Chapter 764. It's okay. My dad's company is the organizer. Yang Ming didn't say his relationship with Bao Sanli and Ho Jinhan. After all, his current identity was still a student. He didn't want his roommates to know too much. At this moment, he could use his father's company as a shield. Even if he already knew the true identity of Tian Donghua from the side, he was the young master of Donghai's Tian family, which was Tian Dongguang's brother. Yang Ming didn't want to say much. Mingyang Entertainment. Tian Donghua was stunned. No, it's Mingyang Heavy Industry. Yang Ming said with a smile. So that's how it is. Tian Donghua couldn't help but nod. My seat is over there. My wife and I will go over first. Okay, call me if you need anything. Yang Ming said. Tian Donghua took Wang Shue's hand, and the two sat intimately in a seat not far away. Those who knew Tian Dongguang naturally started to chat with him. Brother Tian, who is the kid who just talked to you? A rich second generation, who knew Tian Donghua from Donghai, asked with some confusion. Yeah, Brother Tian, who is that kid? I haven't seen him before. The person who asked was a young master from Songjiang. His family had some business dealings with the Tian family. It was reasonable to say that their generation was about the same age, and their family background was prominent. They would know each other. The appearance of Yang Ming suddenly seemed very abrupt. My college classmate. His father is the boss of Mingyang Heavy Industry. Tian Donghua had no need to hide this kind of thing, so he introduced it. Oh. The newly established Mingyang Heavy Industry. The people present were stunned. The reputation of Mingyang Heavy Industry was quite well known recently. It could be said that no one in the province didn't know about it, especially those who did business at home. They more or less knew the inside story of the factory restructuring. With billions of capital injections and the support of the European consortium, Mingyang Heavy Industry could be said to be the most dazzling star in this period. Tian Donghua nodded and said, it should be like this. But I heard that the boss of Mingyang Heavy Industry used to be a worker. How did he suddenly have so much strength? He wouldn't be a nouveau riche, right? Asked the young master of Songjiang. Don't spout nonsense. It's a taboo. Who knows what kind of background someone has these days? The young master from the East Sea was more knowledgeable and knew what to say and what not to say. If you don't have that ability, how can you find a European connection? That's true. The young master of Songjiang quickly nodded and said yes. He also realized his impulsiveness just now. Who knew what the relationship between Tian Donghua and Yang Ming was? Speaking ill of others behind their backs was a taboo. At 6:25 that night, the bright lights in the stadium suddenly dimmed, and the audience cheered in the stands. This was the precursor to Shuya's appearance. Every celebrity's concert was probably like this. Shuya. 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 No one knew who started it, but the audience began to call Shuya's name loudly. From the beginning, it was messy, but later, it was neat and tidy. In this cheer, the exciting and passionate music sounded. The little fluorescent sticks were waved, forming different words. The most common was the English abbreviation of I love you. In the dynamic music, the stage slowly rose. The silver lights lit up, and the mist generated by dry ice curled around the stage. Shuya was dressed in white and stood in the middle of the stage. She looked exceptionally tranquil and pure, just like a high and mighty holy fairy. For a time, the people in the entire stadium held their breath. The people who were originally noisy quieted down in an instant. Even Yang Ming couldn't help but be shocked by Shuya's current appearance. A woman could attract him so much. This kind of charm made Yang Ming, who had been with women for a long time, couldn't help but be moved. So beautiful. Chen Mengyan praised. I didn't expect Shuya on the stage to be so unreachable. Just now in the dressing room, I didn't have such a feeling. Yang Ming nodded and said. TSK, now you regret it, right? I just asked you to take a picture, but you didn't give me face. Chen Mengyan said sarcastically. Hee, that's nothing. Yang Ming smiled and said, what's wrong with taking a picture? I can't take her home to be my wife. You want to? Chen Mengyan rolled her eyes at Yang Ming. I'm very supportive of you. I'm just afraid that you can't do it. Who can't do it? Yang Ming wasn't happy when he heard it. Which man likes to hear a woman say that he can't do it? You. Chen Mengyan didn't have any special meaning, but it was easy to be misunderstood when she said it. You haven't tried. How do you know that I can't do it? Why don't you ask Xian if I can do it? Yang Ming said lecherously. Disgusting, there's no healthy thought. Chen Mengyan also understood what Yang Ming said this time. All of a sudden, the dynamic music in the stadium changed into a melodious and pleasant melody. Shuya's clear and pure singing voice also rang out. This song was the endorsement song of Lu Weishan Jewelry, our anniversary. This familiar song suddenly pulled up the atmosphere of the scene. The fans waved the light sticks excitedly. Applause and screams came one after another. After the song, the silver lights on the stage began to become a little brighter. Friends from Songjiang and friends from all over the country, hello. Shuya smiled and greeted the audience present, and then continued, today is my first concert in the mainland. It can be said to be a very memorable day. I hope that everyone will always remember these days. This is our anniversary. When Shuya's voice fell, the audience and the entire stadium boiled up. Most of the people who could come here were hardcore fans of Shuya. The first concert, this was such a memorable day. Although there was no hot dance, there were no seductive movements. But Shuya's concert had been carried out in a very high atmosphere. In the hearts of the fans, Shuya was their goddess. Childhood is the best time in life. I don't know if everyone still remembers the love of childhood. Shuya said with a nostalgic voice, the next song is called Childhood Love. It is a song that I wrote myself. It is also a song that I like very much. I want to invite an audience present to share the love of childhood with me. Are you willing? Yes. Almost all the fans agreed loudly in unison. After that, there were many voices volunteering, I am willing, I am willing. I understand everyone's enthusiasm, but because the time of the concert is limited, I can only find a fan friend from the front row. Shuya blinked and said apologetically. Oh. Although the people behind were a little disappointed, what Shuya said was also true. It was really difficult to run from the back of this crowded stadium to the stage. However, even so, sitting in the VIP seats, the eyes of the young masters in the front row also showed a look of desire. Shuya walked towards the VIP seats with light steps. Fortunately, the people in the VIP seats still had some manners and didn't get up to catch Shuya. However, it should also be because there were a lot of security guards around Shuya. Shuya looked back and forth at the people in the VIP seats with some hesitation. She held the microphone in both hands and said, everyone is so enthusiastic. It is a little difficult for me to choose. This kind of interactive activity existed in many celebrity concerts, but some were impromptu, and some were prearranged. This time, Shuya was probably improvised because Yang Ming hadn't seen such a line in the concert process. However, the concert process wasn't the kind that had to be deliberately followed. Celebrities could freely express themselves, so Yang Ming didn't take it too seriously. However, when Shuya walked to him, Yang Ming felt that something was wrong. Is this little girl trying to invite me? Before Yang Ming could figure it out, Shuya reached out and said to Yang Ming, "This gentleman, ah?" Yang Ming looked at Shuya in amazement. My feeling is really right. This little girl really came to invite me. However, although Yang Ming had listened to Shuya's songs, he couldn't sing it himself. Not to mention that he wasn't familiar with the tune, he couldn't even remember the lyrics. If he went up, wouldn't it be shameful? Yang Ming didn't care, but many people stared at Yang Ming with envious eyes that could kill. They secretly thought that Yang Ming's luck was good, but there were also some people who thought that they knew the inside story. For example, the young master of Songjiang just now. He thought that the reason why Shuya invited Shuya was because Yang Ming's father was the boss of the organizer company. Ugh, forget it. I think such a good opportunity should be given to others. Yang Ming hesitated and said awkwardly. Shuya's microphone was already facing Yang Ming, so when Yang Ming said this, the people in the audience were suddenly dumbfounded. They looked at Yang Ming with an incredible expression. Such a good opportunity, others couldn't even ask for it. This person actually refused. Is there a problem? When Shuya heard Yang Ming's words, she was stunned, and then her face suddenly turned pale. In front of so many people, Yang Ming actually refused her. This hurt Shuya's self-esteem. If it were someone else, Shuya would feel better, but this person was Yang Ming, the person she loved the most. Shuya had been thinking about it these days. She finally found such an opportunity to sing with Yang Ming. Last night, she was so excited that she almost couldn't sleep, but she was ruthlessly rejected by Yang Ming. How could Shuya not feel uncomfortable? Chapter 765. However, Shuya was still Shuya in the end. Her on-the-spot quality was very good. Although her heart was uncomfortable, her face was only slightly lost, and it returned to normal. It seems that this gentleman has some stage fright, but it doesn't matter. I don't know how the lady next to him is. Shuya turned to Chen Mengyan with a smile. Ah! Chen Mengyan was still annoyed with Yang Ming's lack of understanding. He had already rejected the big star once when they took a photo together, and now it was the same again. She wanted to blame Yang Ming, but she didn't expect Shuya to invite her instead. Chen Mengyan's depressed mood was swept away. She stood up and said, "Okay." Chen Mengyan was a class cadre since elementary school, and she was a member of the student union, so in this kind of situation with so many people, she didn't have stage fright. She was very relaxed and walked on the stage with Shuya. Yang Ming breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, Shuya didn't continue to invite him. Otherwise, if she said a few words to squeeze him, it was impossible for him not to want to go on stage. Originally, many people were more or less jealous of Yang Ming's appearance on stage, except for envy. But now it was Chen Mengyan, who was also a beauty, so there was less jealousy. Chen Mengyan didn't have professional stage makeup, but she wasn't inferior to Shuya. Compared with Shuya's elegant and refined image, Chen Mengyan was more youthful and lively. Although Chen Mengyan didn't have special vocal training like Shuya, her voice was also good. Even if the voice wasn't as clear as Shuya's, it was also euphemistic. Are you nervous? In the middle of the interlude, Shuya turned off the wireless headset and whispered to Chen Mengyan. It's okay, but there are so many people. It's really a bit oppressive. Chen Mengyan smiled bitterly. You sang well. You also have the potential to be a star. Do you want me to introduce you to some celebrities in the entertainment circle? Shuya asked with a smile. Can I? Chen Mengyan listened to Shuya's words. She was surprised. Which girl didn't dream of being a celebrity? Chen Mengyan was no exception, but after hesitating, she shook her head and said, "Forget it. Yang Ming won't like me to be a celebrity." "Do you care so much about his opinion?" Shuya was a little curious. Yang Ming's charm was actually so great. The girl in front of her seemed to have completely fallen into the trap of love. But then again, wasn't it the same for him? Originally, he wanted to abduct Yang Ming's little girlfriend to his side, but he failed. Yes, Chen Mengyan nodded and said, "When you fall in love with someone, you will care about him." Shuya nodded and thought, "It's because of you that I don't have any way." Shuya wasn't the kind of person who liked to destroy other people's feelings, but some things were involuntary. What's more, Shuya felt that since Yang Ming already had 2 girlfriends, then her chances were still great. After the interlude, Shuya turned on the headset and continued to sing with Chen Mengyan. Yang Ming didn't think that Chen Mengyan would whisper to Shuya on the stage, so he didn't pay attention to their lips. "Thank you. Thank you, this lady, for singing this song, Childhood Love, with me. What do you think of her singing?" After the song was sung, Shuya asked the audience. "Good." The audience below clapped and applauded. 2 beautiful women performing on the same stage. How could anyone say that it wasn't good? What's more, Chen Mengyan sang really well. "Then, do you want to listen to her sing with me again?" Shuya continued to ask. "Yes." The audience replied without hesitation. If Chen Mengyan wasn't a beauty or tone-deaf, then there wouldn't be such a good effect. "Then let's cover an old song together. Teacher Luo Daio's Love Song 1990. I believe that everyone is familiar with this song." Shuya said, "This is one of my favorite songs, and it's also a song that one of my netizens likes. He told me that he would come to my concert today. I don't know if he's at the scene now. Although we haven't met, I'm very grateful to him. When I'm lonely, he can listen to me on the internet." Ha! Yang Ming opened his mouth in shock at the moment. Netizens. Concert. And this song that I often play on QQ Music. Shuya, is that I'm a big star. How can there be such a coincidence? Yang Ming's mouth was big enough to put an egg in. Sometimes, I often find that the world is really small. There are always some coincidences between the people around me and the people I'm familiar with. Yang Ming's mind was a bit blank, so he didn't listen to what Shuya and Chen Mengyan sang. "My netizen, there's no true love in this world, are you there? Can you hear it?" Shuya sang excitedly. She waved her hand and shouted to the audience. At this time, everyone knew that Shuya's netizen was called, "There's no true love in this world." On the other hand, Chen Mengyan was so stunned that she had forgotten half of the lyrics. Chen Mengyan looked at Shuya inexplicably. She naturally knew Yang Ming's netizen name. Not only that, but her own netizen name was also similar to Yang Ming's. Shuya also saw Chen Mengyan's abnormality, but now on the stage, there was no way to ask. She had to take Chen Mengyan's lyrics and continue to sing. Although there was a pause in the middle, it was a good connection. Chen Mengyan also felt that she had lost her composure. In this world, there were many people with the same netizen name. Yang Ming was not the only one who was called, "There's no true love in this world." Others could also be called. Not to mention the netizen name, even the real name, there were many people with the same name. Chen Mengyan smiled apologetically and continued to sing her part. "Nothing, I just thought of some sad things." Yang Ming smiled and shook his head. "You and Jiyun watched the concert. I'm going to the bathroom." "Oh." Chen Mengyan didn't think much and nodded. Yang Ming stood up and left the VIP seat. He walked to the emergency passage on the side. Out of the stadium and into the corridor, Yang Ming lit a cigarette and took 2 deep breaths. Now, Yang Ming rarely smoked. He would only smoke when he was in a bad mood. Yang Ming was now thinking about the problem of Xiao Qing and Sun Jie. How should I tell Chen Mengyan about these 2 people? Although Xiao Qing said that she would be Yang Ming's godsister for a lifetime, Yang Ming knew that it was just her comforting words. She also longed for him to be recognized one day and be able to walk on the street with him openly. What's wrong? You don't want to watch the concert but come here to smoke. A hand was placed on Yang Ming's shoulder. Yang Ming turned around and found that it was Tian Donghua. He was alone. Wang Shui didn't come out with him. Hee, aren't you out too? Yang Ming put out the cigarette and said with a smile. I saw that you came out, so I followed. I have something to say to you. Tian Donghua also lit a cigarette for himself. What's wrong with you? Why do you look more depressed than me? Yang Ming looked at Tian Donghuang's gloomy expression and asked curiously. Chapter 766. Yang Ming, I see that you have 2 girlfriends. You must know a lot about women, right? Tian Donghua hesitated and said. No. Yang Ming couldn't help but smile bitterly after listening. Do I know? You should know more than me, right? I fought for a woman, but the woman didn't appreciate it. Is there such an idiot like me? Tian Donghua said self-deprecatingly, Yang Ming, to be honest, I have encountered a problem now. What's the problem? Yang Ming was a little puzzled. Why would Tian Donghua suddenly come to find him and say these things? But thinking about it, it seemed that Tian Donghua didn't have many close friends in university. He could only talk to his roommates, Zhang Bing and himself. Emotional problems. Otherwise, what do you think it is? Tian Donghua shook his head and said. Emotional problems. What emotional problems? Is there a problem in your relationship with Wang Shui? Or did you fall in love with someone else? Yang Ming asked with some surprise. It's not me. It's Wang Shui. Tian Donghua said with some depression, I found that she has been dating other men behind my back recently. What? Her. Behind your back. Yang Ming was stunned. Tian Donghua's family, although not as good as Sun Jie's family, was also prominent. It was also a famous family in the province. In this case, the daughter-in-law of the Tian family still dared to go out and fool around. Wasn't that looking for death? Especially since the Tian family relied on the underworld to make a living, they wouldn't allow such a thing to happen. I don't believe it, but I saw it with my own eyes. I have to believe it. Tian Donghua sighed. What the hell is going on? Don't worry. Tell me slowly. I will help you analyze. Looking at Tian Donghua's depressed look, Yang Ming said with some sympathy. It's like this. A while ago, Wang Shui received a call and then ran to the bathroom to answer it. I didn't take it seriously at that time. When she came back, I casually asked who it was. I didn't expect her to stutter and didn't say it clearly. Tian Donghua paused and continued, everyone has some privacy. I didn't delve into it. I just secretly remembered the phone number. After that, this number often appeared in Wang Shui's call log. I began to be on guard. He ordered a set of wireless monitoring equipment online and eavesdropped on Wang Shui's phone conversation. The man asked her to meet him at night. I followed Wang Shui and found that she secretly went to meet with that man. Ah. Really? Yang Ming found it a little unbelievable. Then what did they do after that? They didn't do anything. They just met and talked to each other. Wang Shui gave that person something, and then the two of them broke up. Tian Donghua said. Gave that person something. Yang Ming frowned. How many times has this happened? 2 or 3 times. Tian Donghua said with a solemn expression, although I don't dare to believe it, the facts are right in front of me. I have no choice but to believe it. Are you sure they're dating? Yang Ming's current analytical ability was no longer what it used to be, and his view of things had also become more meticulous. If they're not dating, then what are they doing? It's so late. Why are they still going out to meet? Tian Donghua's thought was relatively simple. Could it be that Wang Shui was blackmailed? Or was there something that fell into the hands of others, so they blackmailed her? Yang Ming thought about it and said the most likely situation to Tian Donghua. You don't say. Your analysis is a bit reasonable. Maybe this is the case. It makes me feel enlightened. Tian Donghua slammed the wall and then said with some excitement, so, I misunderstood Wang Shui. Misunderstanding or not, I don't know. I just said a hypothesis, a possibility. Yang Ming said, however, I think this possibility should be slightly higher. And it must be like this. As long as Tian Donghua understood that Wang Shui didn't betray him, it was enough. As for the others, he didn't care. Damn, someone dares to blackmail my wife. I will kill him. Let's figure out the situation first. Yang Ming said, if you need anything, call me at any time. I understand. Tian Donghua's whole person was relaxed a lot. It could be seen that his feelings for Wang Shui were deep. Yang Ming and Tian Donghua returned to the stadium together. Yang Ming's mood, which was a little hazy, became a little relaxed after being disturbed by Tian Donghua. You're back. Shu Ye just sang a new song. It's not in all the albums. Chen Mengyan said with some regret. Really? Yang Ming smiled. If you like it, let's ask her for the master tape of the concert recording. We can watch it when we go back. Yang Ming said. The 2-hour concert ended quickly. Shu Ye also said to all the fans with some reluctance, time flies so fast. I didn't expect 2 hours to pass so quickly. It can't be helped. Let's meet again next time. The last song is for you, all the friends who love and support me. This was an old song sung by Andy Lau in 1997, A Letter to You. Although the original singer was a male voice, under Shu Ye's interpretation, it had a different style. The ordinary voice didn't expect to get a reaction. The echo of the applause actually sounded non-stop. Thank you for your encouragement. Thank you for all your sincerity. I will cherish this feeling forever. A little star also needs your sympathy. My heart is no longer lonely. Because of your true feelings, my life is complete. Tell me how beautiful the world is. I sing everything to you on the stage. Every word in my heart contains my tears, contains my joy. You are the spirits of my life. Put everything aside and be close to you no matter how hard it is. I am willing to go together. If you want to stop, we will stop together. If you want to go in together, leave your footprints on the journey of life. Footprints in life. The singing was very beautiful, and it was also appropriate to describe Shu Ye's rise to fame. Many fans were moved to cry. They waved the light sticks and wanted time to stop at this moment. Chen Mengyan was also very emotional. Like most fans, she stood up and shouted Shu Ye's name. However, what should end will always end. We don't have Doraemon's treasure bag, and we don't have a time stopper. Finally, Shu Ye disappeared from people's sight along with the slowly descending stage. Undoubtedly, this concert was quite successful, and it was also quite moving. For a long time, the people in the stadium stood up and slowly left. There were too many people, but fortunately, Yang Ming and the other two could leave through the staff's dedicated passage. They didn't have to follow the crowd. I have read a novel. It said that after a concert, the male protagonist of the novel met a big star who sprained her ankle at the entrance of the stadium, and then carried her to the hospital. When leaving, Yang Ming smiled and said to Chen Mengyan and Lin Jiyun, "Then, the two people had a marriage." "Oh. I think I have also read that book." Chen Mengyan said thoughtfully, "I think it is the novel that you rented when you were in high school, right? After I confiscated it, I flipped through it twice. It was written well, but there were too many women." Sweat. Yang Ming was a little embarrassed. After a few words, the topic of too many women came up. So, he quickly changed the topic. "I don't know if Shuya sprained her ankle at the entrance of the stadium and met her Mr. Right. Hee, but it is quite romantic when you think about it." After Chen Mengyan finished, she suddenly thought of something. She turned around and said to Lin Jiyun, "Sister Lin, do you think Yang Ming wants to be the Mr. Right?" I don't know." Lin Jiyun was like this. She rarely cared about Yang Ming's matters. The three people were talking and laughing. Suddenly, they heard an ayah not far in front of them. They saw Shuya holding the wall with one hand and rubbing her ankle with the other hand. "Sister Shuya, what happened to you?" After singing on the same stage, the relationship between Chen Mengyan and Shuya had become more familiar. When she saw that Shuya was in trouble, she quickly ran over. "I'm not used to wearing high heels for this performance. I sprained my ankle as soon as I came out." Shuya grimaced in pain. "It hurts." When Chen Mengyan heard it, she quickly held Shuya, and then shouted to Yang Ming behind, "Yang Ming, what are you doing? Come and help." "Me? Help?" Yang Ming thought, "Isn't this a copy of the plot of The Big Star Falls in Love with Me? It is said that novels come from life. It seems that this is not false at all. Look, I encountered it." "Yeah. You're the only man here. Don't you feel embarrassed if you don't help?" Chen Mengyan wasn't happy. Yang Ming scratched his head and walked forward. He leaned down and was about to check Shuya's ankle, but Chen Mengyan pulled his ear. "Yang Ming, what are you doing? Why are you going under Sister Shuya's skirt? Are you trying to take advantage of her?" Yang Ming didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "I just want to see how her injury is. You're not a doctor. What do you know?" Chen Mengyan didn't appreciate it. Yang Ming thought, "Although I'm not a doctor, my massage technique is top-notch. But since you don't believe it, then I don't need to reveal anything. Quick, help me hold Shuya. Let's find a place to rest." Chen Mengyan said anxiously. "Okay." Yang Ming nodded. Just as she took a step, Shuya was in so much pain that her face turned pale. Her voice changed a little. "It hurts." Chen Mengyan frowned and said with some worry, "Sister Shuya's injury seems to be not light. Yang Ming, why don't you carry her? She definitely can't walk like this. She might even worsen her injury." "Huh? I carry her." Yang Ming looked at Chen Mengyan with some surprise. "Yeah, if you don't carry her, who do you think is stronger than you between me and Sister Lin?" Chen Mengyan said without hesitation. "If you're not afraid that what you just said will become true, I will carry her." Yang Ming whispered to Chen Mengyan. Chen Mengyan heard Yang Ming's words and hesitated. She didn't expect things to turn out like this. She really understood what speak of the devil. However, Chen Mengyan finally bit and said, "You carry Sister Shuya." Yang Ming smiled and leaned down, but his heart was very relaxed. Although Chen Mengyan was very jealous, she had a weakness, which was that she was too soft-hearted. Chapter 767. Shuya didn't hesitate. She directly lay on Yang Ming's back. There was no avoidance between men and women. Yang Ming gently lifted Shuya's buttocks and carried her steadily on his back. Looking at the empty corridor, Yang Ming couldn't help but wonder, when you returned to the lounge, you didn't seem to pass through this corridor, right? This corridor was only a dedicated staff passage from the VIP seats to the backstage. Usually, very few people came here. There were only people guarding the doors on both sides. If it weren't for the relationship between Yang Ming and the organizer, they wouldn't have taken this passage directly. But when Shuya came here, it seemed a bit abrupt and strange. I went back to the backstage from the stage and found that there were a lot of reporters. I didn't dare to go over, so I went directly into this passage. I didn't expect to sprain my ankle. Shuya explained. Reporters went into the backstage. Yang Ming was very puzzled. It seems unlikely, right? Bao Sanli had sent a large group of security guards to guard the entrance of each passage. How did the reporters get in? Although this reason was somewhat far-fetched, Yang Ming also felt guilty. Maybe someone accidentally let the reporters in. Only Shuya understood in her heart. It seemed that she didn't suffer in vain. Finally, Yang Ming came. It was just that she didn't have a good sense of propriety. She really hurt her ankle seriously. Now, it was so painful that she was sweating a little. Shuya had also seen the movie, The Big Star Fell in Love with Me. She was very envious of the encounter between the star and the protagonist, so she designed such a play. The feeling of being carried by Yang Ming was really good. She hadn't had this feeling for many years. This couldn't help but remind Shuya of the situation many years ago when they were in junior high school. There was a physical education class where she hurt her foot. Yang Ming carried her to the infirmary. Back to the backstage, Yang Ming was a bit puzzled. Where are the reporters here? Probably, they were driven out. Shuya's face was red. Fortunately, she was on Yang Ming's back, so others couldn't see her expression. Miss Shu, what happened to you? When Suli saw Yang Ming carrying Shuya, she quickly ran over and asked. Sister Shuya sprained her ankle, and we happened to meet her. Chen Mengyan quickly explained, do you think we should call the doctor over? Okay, I'll call the doctor now. Suli said quickly. After putting Shuya on the sofa in the lounge, Yang Ming also sat on the side. Thank you for just now. Shuya thanked, otherwise, I really don't know what to do. Yang Ming smiled. Intuitively, he felt that something was wrong. Shuya seemed to be lying, but the swollen ankle was right in front of him. While Yang Ming was thinking about this, Chen Mengyan had already sat on Shuya's side and chatted with her. Sister Shuya, you have to hold on. The doctor may be here soon. Chen Mengyan looked at Shuya's painful expression and persuaded her. It doesn't matter. Shuya frowned and pretended to be relaxed with a smile. It's not a big injury. I remember that when I was in junior high school, there was a physical education class where I sprained my ankle. A boy in my class carried me to the school doctor's office. That time was much more serious than this time. Yang Ming listened to Shuya's words, but his whole body trembled. He turned his head in surprise, and his eyes were full of disbelief. Yes, the Shuya in front of me is really similar to the Suya in my memory. The same habits, the same ring, the similar past, and the similar name. How could this not make Yang Ming doubt? But doubt was doubt. The difference between the appearance of the two people was too big. Yang Ming even thought that Shuya was wearing something like a human skin mask. But unfortunately, Yang Ming didn't see anything on Shuya's face. If Shuya really wore a mask, then it definitely couldn't hide from Yang Ming's eyes. Therefore, it was precisely because of this that Yang Ming would think that these two people were not the same person. There were too many coincidences in this world. Yang Ming himself had encountered countless coincidences. Therefore, it wasn't so strange that Shuya and Suya were similar. Yang Ming sighed. It may be that Shuya's words just reminded him of Suya. Yang Ming couldn't bear to see Shuya in pain. He couldn't help but lean over and say, I have learned to massage. Let me help you see how your foot is. Shuya's heart was naturally willing, but Qin Mengyan still looked at Yang Ming with suspicion. You wouldn't want to take advantage of her, right? Sweat. Yang Ming was a little embarrassed. Am I so dirty? Qin Mengyan was just joking. Seeing that Yang Ming was embarrassed, she didn't say anything. Yang Ming leaned over and slowly took off Shuya's shoes. Although it was winter, Shuya was wearing performance shoes, so it was easy to take them off. Looking at Shuya's swollen ankle, Yang Ming sighed and slowly massaged with the massage method that Fang Tian taught him. Shuya's feet were very beautiful. Although they were red and swollen, it didn't affect the beauty. Instead, it made people feel more tender. It was just that Yang Ming had something in his heart, and Qin Mengyan and Lin Jiyun were next to him. He couldn't help but have some thoughts. Shuya looked at Yang Ming with some curiosity. It really doesn't hurt. It's very effective. Hee. Yang Ming stood up and said, it's a secret ancestral prescription. Ancestral? Shuya was very puzzled. Why didn't I know that Yang Ming still had such a skill? If it was really ancestral, then when I sprained my ankle, he wouldn't be so anxious. At this time, Su Li ran in with the doctor. Su Li said, Miss Shu, I have invited the doctor. However, looking at Shuya talking and laughing with the people around her, she couldn't help but wonder, Miss Shu, your foot? Oh, my foot is almost healed. It's not a big problem. Yang Ming helped me do a massage, and the swelling has gone down. Shuya smiled and said, I don't need to trouble the doctor. Massage. How can a massage be done? This doctor was young and was also a fan of Shuya. He originally wanted to come to today's concert, but he was on duty in the hospital, so he couldn't leave. Just as he was a little depressed, a person who claimed to be Shuya's agent found him and asked him to make a house call. This made him happy. He had some doubts at first, but when he saw Su Li's business card and the place where the concert was held was indeed the stadium. When he saw Shuya in front of him, he couldn't help but be excited. But he didn't expect Shuya to say that he didn't need to see it. He still wanted to take the opportunity to get close to her. In fact, this kid's heart was quite dirty. He was going to take the opportunity to touch Shuya's foot. Therefore, when he heard that someone was massaging, he was unhappy. He immediately put on the appearance of an expert and said, the folk massage is a lie. It can only relieve the pain, but it can't be cured. Chinese medicine can only relieve the pain, and Western medicine can cure it. Yang Ming listened to the bullshit theory from this kid's mouth, and he was immediately furious. What did he mean by the folk massage is a lie? What did he mean by Chinese medicine can only relieve the pain? Although Chinese medicine and Western medicine had their own strengths, and it couldn't be said which one was good and which one was bad, this kid obviously belittled Chinese medicine. How could Yang Ming not be angry? Yang Ming waved his hand impatiently and said, Miss Su, we don't need him here. Give him some consultation fee and let him go. The consultation fee is not necessary. Miss Shu's health is the most important. How could this kid give up? He didn't care whether Su Li and Shuya agreed or not. He ran over with an anxious look. He squatted down and grabbed Shuya's ankle. Motherfucker, are you deaf? Yang Ming really couldn't bear it this time. He directly grabbed the back of the kid's collar and lifted him up. He frowned and shouted outside the door, Security. Is there anyone here? When Yang Ming shouted, Bao Sanli immediately rushed in and said, Brother Yang, what's the matter? Throw this bastard out for me. Doesn't this guy understand human language? Yang Ming released his hand and threw the kid to the ground. Bao Sanli stepped forward and dragged the kid out by his hair. How could he have a good time after provoking Yang Ming? Looking at Yang Ming's angry look, Shuya smiled. Is he doing this for me? Shuya couldn't help but think faintly. Today's incident made Yang Ming determined that no matter how difficult it was, he had to investigate Shuya's family background. Although there were some coincidences in this world, it was necessary to confirm that it was a real coincidence. Once the promotional material of Lu Weishan jewelry was broadcasted, it directly reversed the current situation. Most people still recognized the guidance of TV and media. Therefore, the high-end brand value of Lu Weishan jewelry was known overnight. Looking at the employees in the company dealing with these problems in an orderly manner, even Zhao Cixi was able to do it with ease. Lin Jiyun felt a little inferior. Yes, from the company's opening until now, although I was the deputy general manager, I didn't help with the company's operation. Of course, Lin Jiyun didn't tell Yang Ming about these thoughts. She was also afraid that Yang Ming would be worried about her after he knew. After Yun Guangdou saw the promotional material on TV, he was so angry that he smashed another TV. He deliberately came up with such a wonderful idea, but he didn't expect it to be so easily resolved by the other party. Not only did it not have the opposite effect, but it also gave the other party a free opportunity to hype. This made Yun Guangdou almost have a heart attack. What do we do now? Yun Guangdou looked at Li Xiaodao and Lu Shaoxing with a pale face. President Yun. I didn't expect the designer of Lu Weishan jewelry to be an international master. Li Xiaodao smiled carefully. Now it's not a problem of whether you think of it or not, but how to solve the problem. Yun Guangdou said angrily, Songjiang is the foundation of the company, but now it is being squeezed by Lu Weishan jewelry. We can't sell anything. We are going bankrupt. President Yun. Lu Shaoxing hesitated and then said to Li Xiaodao, you go out first. I have something to discuss with President Yun.